Hi guys, welcome to Midnight Anime Library. My crew is stronger than the plot armor. Part 4 Chapter 61, Spider Coffee Shop. Walking along the coastline. The scene before them was as desolate as the end of the world. As far as the eye could see, there was nothing but grayish-yellow gravel, sparsely dotted with withered yellow shrubs killed by the salt and the scorching sun. A hot wind swept from deep inland, carrying coarse grains of sand. Even this close to the coastline, it's all desert? It seems it's not just natural terrain, then? Watching the scene before him, Yasuo walked forward and spoke in a low voice. And under everyone's surprised and suspicious gazes. The moment Yasuo's foot stepped onto the sandy ground, his entire appearance changed instantly. A hat appeared on his head at some point, and his clothes changed from a blue samurai outfit to a cowboy outfit. This is the High Noon skin. Looking at Yasuo, who had suddenly become even more handsome, Luluan's lips couldn't help but twitch. This ability was truly perfect for showing off. Moreover, after Yasuo changed his skin, his very temperament seemed to change. While this skin might not provide a huge boost to Yasuo's overall abilities, it was certainly handsome enough for this country's environment. Wow! How did you suddenly change your look? Yasuo, you look so cool right now, just like a Western cowboy in the movies. After Yasuo changed his skin, Saitama immediately rushed over. He looked at Yasuo with sparkling eyes, asking questions incessantly. He looked like a curious baby. Yasuo didn't find Saitama annoying at all and patiently explained his ability to constantly change skins. As they talked, everyone present, including Luluan, saw the sand on the ground begin to flow slowly, following Yasuo's hand. Yasuo now seemed to possess an ability similar to the sand fruit, capable of manipulating sand. Thinking of Yasuo's many skins, Luluan understood why Yasuo's setting in this world was invincible. The group continued walking forward. As they walked, they moved from the uninhabited desert into some broken walls and ruins. Amidst the collapsed city walls and the ubiquitous yellow sand, skeletal remains could occasionally be seen peeking through. At this moment, Vivi, looking at the yellow sand everywhere, also began to speak. This place used to be the outer city settlement of our capital, Aliobarna. It was once very prosperous and had many outsiders. Since they couldn't live in the capital, they chose to take root here. Over a long period of development, it actually became a trade center, but listening to Vivi's nostalgic words and seeing the dense mess on the ground, one could faintly imagine how lively this place once was. After walking a bit further, they could see high city walls, though they were clearly dilapidated. As they approached the walls, they could already see quite a few people. Each one looked extremely thin and weak. Their faces were full of the vicissitudes of life. Because of the frequent wind and sand in this area, they all looked somewhat dirty and messy. Under Yasuo's control, the wind and sand didn't touch them at all, forming a sort of vacuum-like field around the group. Such a strange group appearing naturally drew the immediate attention of everyone around. However, Luluan and the others didn't care. They simply started walking toward the city without any hesitation, feeling the gazes of those around her. Vivi didn't choose to keep her head down and hide like before. Instead, she puffed out her chest, just as she used to. She walked into the city with the appearance of a proud princess. The moment they entered the city, they were immediately noticed by the rebel army. It couldn't be helped, as the temperament of Luluan and the others was far too distinct. However, these ordinary soldiers were unable to recognize them. Perhaps it was because the common people here could no longer afford the newspapers. Halt! You lot! Seeing several rebel army soldiers guarding the city appear before them, pointing weapons at them, Luluan didn't want to say much. He just slightly released his aura, and the men in front of him fell asleep. Seeing this, the eyes of many nearby civilians instantly revealed looks of terror. Attacking rebel army soldiers. In this city, especially in this area, there was absolutely no one who dared to do such a thing. Although the people before them didn't look ordinary. To the civilians, Luluan and his group were practically as good as dead. Nevertheless, Luluan's group continued to walk forward step by step. They didn't pay attention to anyone around them. Because in the entire royal capital, for Luluan, the only place that could pique his interest, besides the king's palace, was likely the headquarters of Baroque Works, the Spider Coffee Shop. This place gathered all the officers of Baroque Works. It also gathered the wealth of Baroque Works. To get that money, they had to go to the Spider Coffee Shop first. And as for this place, while Vivi didn't know its exact location, Mr. Nine did. Led by him, Luluan's group headed toward the Spider Coffee Shop without hiding their movements. With such a group appearing in the capital, naturally, the people at Baroque Works had received intelligence early on. Inside the Spider Coffee Shop at this time, a woman sat in a high position. She was like an ancient book quietly spread open under the afternoon sun of a cafe. Elegant, mysterious, with an intellectual beauty soaked in time. A pair of deep dark brown eyes held the indifference of one who had seen through the world, along with a trace of imperceptible sadness. Her skin was a healthy light wheat color, and beneath her high nose, a smile curled at the corners of her mouth. Her waist-length black hair fell like a waterfall in the night, naturally cascading and shimmering with a silky luster during her movements, with a few strands occasionally brushing against her cheeks, adding a few touches of softness to her. "What's wrong? Why the panic?" Seeing the person who suddenly ran in from outside, the smile on Nico Robin's lips vanished, and she couldn't help but frown. This is bad, this is bad. Vice President. A group of strange people has arrived in the city, and their destination seems to be our Spider Coffee Shop." "What? Their destination is my shop?" Before Robin could speak, a woman with a blue afro, smoking a pipe and wearing black leather clothes, stood up abruptly from her seat. "Paula, take some people and go check it out. It's best to settle it outside, don't disturb the peace of the shop." "Got it." Hearing Robin's words, Paula directly bit her pipe and led several people from the shop out the door, equally aggressive. Chapter 62, What kind of end? What's going on? Whose people have come here? Sarah was walking on the road. She asked the person who had just come to report the news. Sarah just felt it was a bit strange. At this point in time, the rebel army and the kingdom army should both be wary of each other and cautious. The Spider Coffee Shop shouldn't be targeted. "Manager, it seems like there are a few outsiders, and they've even taken down some people from the rebel army." "Could it be people from the kingdom army? It doesn't seem like it either." "Manager, you should go see for yourself, those few people seem quite formidable." "Formidable, humph." Upon hearing her subordinate's words, Sarah let out a disdainful sneer. Whether it was this country's rebel army or the kingdom army, in Sarah's eyes, there were truly very few people who could live up to the praise of being formidable. But that was also why her boss could become the hero of this kingdom. Because the people in this country were simply too easy to deceive and far too weak. The people of this country had never seen any truly powerful experts. In Sarah's eyes, only someone of Crocodile's level could be called a true powerhouse, a truly formidable person. Since seeing her boss in action, Sarah's standards had naturally become much higher. Those few people who came to cause trouble. Humph. What kind of nobodies dare to come looking for trouble with Baroque Works? Sarah walked forward in anger, following the guide, while the several agents by her side were equally incensed. Having stayed in this place for so long, no one had ever dared to cause trouble for the Spider Coffee Shop. Soon, under the lead of that subordinate, the group arrived at the main road outside. From a distance, they could see several people walking towards them. Sarah stood in place, her eyes full of contempt. She could already imagine what a miserable end those few people would meet in a moment. Whether they were from the kingdom army or outsiders who specifically came to cause trouble, only one end awaited them. "Captain Lei Luan, those people kneeling on both sides ahead are from the Spider Coffee Shop. That blue-haired one is the manager of the Spider Coffee Shop." Once Luluan's group drew closer, before the people by his side could even make a move, the people in the distance seemed to have recognized his appearance. Then Luluan watched in surprise as that group of people knelt down on both sides of the road in unison and with great speed. And Luluan was indeed quite familiar with these people, they were all agents of Baroque Works. That blue-haired woman was the manager of the Spider coffee shop, along with her employees. Hawkeye had actually given him the news of this group's appearance long ago. So seeing these people, Luluan didn't find it strange. As Luluan walked past them, he could clearly see just how much their bodies were trembling at this moment. These few people had likely recognized him, or rather, recognized Hawkeye beside him, and then guessed the identity of their group. After all, on the bounty posters issued by the Marine, the art style of his portrait was a bit abstract. Mainly, it didn't show his face, making him seem very mysterious. "Manager Sarah, I'm Vivi, you remember me, right?" Vivi looked at Sarah, who was kneeling on the ground, and spoke calmly. Upon hearing Vivi's voice, Sarah finally dared to look up. With just one glance, Sarah recognized Vivi. After all, they were both agents within Baroque Works. However, hearing Vivi speak, Sarah was indeed incredibly nervous and found it very strange. How could such a low-level agent be hanging around with a group of ruthless people like this? The moment she saw their faces just now, Sarah almost wet herself in fear. Because she recognized at a glance Hawkeye, who was respectfully following a man dressed in cowboy attire like a subordinate. And then, she saw the members of the Otherworld pirate crew, who were currently the most famous and most mysteriously hyped in the world. There was Saitama, wearing a bodysuit, who had defeated Kazara with a single punch. And Pluton, clad in black armor, exuding an awe-inspiring haki. Although she didn't recognize the man in cowboy attire, Sarah could guess that the person surrounded by this group must be the mysterious captain of the Otherworld pirate crew. Otherworld pirate crew. A crew whose reputation in this world was even more terrifying than that of the Four Emperors. The entire crew had appeared right before her eyes. Sarah knelt without a moment's hesitation. And what relieved Sarah was that the employees she had trained were indeed her trusted confidants. Without her even making a gesture or saying a word, the moment she knelt, all of them followed suit. There wasn't a hint of hesitation or delay, their movements were almost perfectly synchronized, and everything appeared so smooth. Although she didn't know why these top-tier powerhouses would be connected to a minor agent from her organization. But looking at the situation, this minor agent seemed to actually have a relationship with them, and they hadn't done anything to her. Thinking of this, Sarah couldn't help but reveal a fawning and respectful smile as she raised her head. "Of course I remember. Vivi, and all the esteemed lords of the Otherworld pirate crew." While speaking, Sarah stood up and affectionately took Vivi's hand, though her eyes weren't on Vivi. Instead, she stared at Luluan and the others with unease and respect. "It's good that you remember. Manager Sarah, then please lead the way. We'll go straight to the Spider coffee shop first." "Of course. Your Excellencies, it is my honor to lead the way for you." Having said that, Sarah respectfully began to lead the way for them, while simultaneously placing her hands behind her back to make several gestures to the employees behind her. Upon seeing Sarah's gestures, two of the employees quietly slipped away in different directions as Sarah led the group towards the Spider coffee shop. However, Luluan's group didn't pay any mind to this. As for those two departing employees, one of them, naturally, immediately returned to the Spider coffee shop to report the current situation to the vice president, Robin. After all, Luluan's group would arrive at the Spider coffee shop very soon. Everything inside had to be properly arranged, they absolutely couldn't allow these big shots to have the slightest dissatisfaction. While the other went to find the boss of Baroque Works, Crocodile. The arrival of the Otherworld pirate crew was a matter that far exceeded their capacity to handle. Even the vice president, Robin, was completely unqualified to handle such a thorny situation. Sarah only hoped that these two could run a bit faster and that everything would be in time. Otherwise, Sarah truly didn't know what kind of end would await their Baroque Works in the future. Chapter 63, Robin's Decision. This is bad, this is bad. While Robin was leisurely sipping her coffee, the coffee shop door was suddenly pushed open once again. Hearing that same familiar panicked voice, Robin could no longer restrain herself. She stood up with a frown. Then, a hand appeared out of thin air on the clerk's head and gave it a hard smack. "How many times have I told you? Don't panic when things happen. Didn't Zala just head out with some people? What's going on?" "It's the Otherworld pirate crew." What? Robin had originally been walking toward the clerk in a leisurely manner. But upon hearing those words, her expression instantly turned tense, and her previously calm and elegant pace quickened as she rushed to the clerk's side. What otherworld pirate crew? Speak clearly. Vice President, the people from the otherworld pirate crew are here. Every single person from those wanted posters is here. The manager is currently leading them to our coffee shop and sent me to notify you immediately so you can make a decision. The clerk was also extremely nervous while speaking, his words stumbling over each other. Following Crocodile, the greatest benefit was that it broadened their horizons, allowing them to clearly understand just how terrifying truly powerful individuals could be. On the day the otherworld pirate crew's wanted posters were released, Crocodile had spoken to them about it. A pirate crew that could make a guy like Hawkeye join willingly possesses a level of power beyond our reach and a strength beyond your imagination. To have the high and mighty Crocodile speak to them in such a serious, and even slightly fearful tone. These officers naturally understood how exaggerated the individuals on those bounty posters were. However, they could sense it just from the bounty amounts alone. Everyone in the shop, listen to me right now. When Robin shouted this, even she didn't notice that her voice was trembling. Pack up everything in the shop as fast as possible, and then get as far away as you can. Watch all the paths leading here and don't let anyone else near this place. Following Robin's command, the few remaining people in the Spider coffee shop immediately began to work in a frantic rush. Robin, meanwhile, slumped into a chair, her pupils trembling as her expression flickered with internal conflict, seemingly weighing her options. Her usually elegant and intellectual image was gone. Now, Robin also appeared extremely nervous. After quickly cleaning up their assigned areas, the shop's employees left through the back door as fast as they could. Robin didn't even need to tell them. After hearing the conversation earlier, these clerks had wanted to leave long ago. After all, if any accident occurred, it was best to be as far away as possible. A casual strike from such powerful beings could truly be fatal. For Robin, if these fools stayed in the shop and made even the slightest mistake, it could lead to unimaginable consequences. So, it was better for these idiots to get as far away as possible. The otherworld pirate crew. Why would powerhouses of this level suddenly come to such a barren place? The current Alabasta kingdom was no longer as prosperous as it once was, it was merely a dying nation gasping for its last breath. Wait. Thinking of this, Robin's pupils suddenly constricted. In today's Alabasta kingdom, the only thing that could possibly attract powerhouses of this caliber was likely that thing. But if the otherworld pirate crew was here for that, then what was the point of everything they had done over the past few years? All the plans, all the schemes. They all seemed like a joke. Simply because they had arrived here and set foot on this territory, everything Crocodile had done would lose all meaning, and he might even have to willingly offer up the results of his efforts to them. Thinking of this, another light flickered in Robin's eyes. Hadn't she followed Crocodile for the sake of the Poneglyphs? Hadn't she seen some potential in him? But looking at it now, her judgment didn't seem to be that great. Or rather, previously, she hadn't had the chance to come into contact with the truly top-tier people of this world. Now, the opportunity had arrived. Moreover, the otherworld pirate crew possessed the ability to protect her. After all, the leader on that ship was someone who had defeated Marine Headquarters Admiral Kizaru and Marine Hero Garp. For her, this might be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Thinking of this, Robin's pupils, which had been trembling with anxiety, not only lost all tension but instead shone with an unprecedented light. As she continued to plot in her mind, her eyes grew brighter and brighter. Just then, bang! The door of the Spider coffee shop was pushed open. Sunlight, previously blocked by the door, now streamed directly inside, falling upon Robin. Robin looked up and saw an exceptionally handsome figure, exuding the unique aura of a mysterious powerhouse, entering her field of vision. The golden sunlight filtered through his messy black hair. The young man's silhouette seemed to reflect a faint, divine glow. It wasn't until the young man fully entered the shop that Robin could clearly see his handsome face. That bright, cheerful smile instantly made Robin feel remarkably warm, giving her a long-lost sense of strange kinship. And behind the young man, figures filed into the coffee shop one after another. There was an overlord as deep as an abyss, a cowboy swordsman with restrained sharp edges, and even a strangely dressed, simple-looking bald man. Strong. This was the powerhouse who had defeated Marine Headquarters Admiral Kizaru. Robin's gaze was firmly locked onto their figures. Even Hawkeye, who followed behind, couldn't draw her attention away. Meanwhile, Zella's heart was in her throat as she watched Robin stare blankly at the members of the Otherworld pirate crew. Staring directly at such powerhouses was incredibly rude. Ahem. Vice President. These are the esteemed guests from the Otherworld pirate crew. And this is our Baroque Works Vice President. I have already sent someone to notify our president. He will be here shortly to pay his respects. Zala respectfully introduced Robin to Luluan. Upon hearing Zala's voice, Robin realized how impolite her behavior had been. She immediately bowed and gave a respectful greeting. I am Nico Robin, an O'Hara scholar. Greetings, Lord Luluan. Chapter 64, Not So Superficial Wealth. O'Hara scholar. Upon hearing Robin's introduction, Luluan couldn't help but smile knowingly. Looking at Robin kneeling on the ground, Luluan spoke slowly, that introduction of yours is quite interesting. Hearing Luluan's words, Robin knew her little scheme had been discovered, but that was exactly her goal. Having endured so many years of trials and tribulations, Robin knew clearly that if she wanted to be protected by the strong, she had to possess value. And for a powerhouse of Luluan's caliber, the only thing she could offer was her identity as an O'Hara scholar. In this world, that was her most valuable asset. Lord Luluan, you flatter me. Since this is a coffee shop, why don't you prepare a few cups of coffee? There are some things I'd like to discuss with you. Luluan walked familiarly to a table and sat down. After Luluan sat down, the others followed suit. Robin tried her best to suppress her excitement and nervousness as she went to the counter to make a few cups of coffee. Vivi and Mr. Nine, naturally acting as the shop's staff, served the coffee to them. After making the coffee, Robin cautiously approached Luluan's side. Looking at the people at the table, she didn't dare to sit down. The aura of the others was very restrained. Especially Luluan, who gave her a very warm feeling without any sense of oppression. However, the person wearing black armor, even though he was just sitting there naturally without deliberately releasing his aura, gave off a feeling that was truly chilling. He was completely incomparable to someone on Crocodile's level. And that person wearing denim, with a sword at his waist, just looking at him made her eyes ache. He was clearly part of the Otherworld pirate crew. And seeing Hawkeye serving him cautiously, he was obviously a big shot. Yet, this person had never appeared on any marine bounty posters. This showed that the Otherworld pirate crew might be even more terrifying than she had imagined. Even the marine hadn't fully grasped the information on the Otherworld pirate crew. Not bad, Robin. The coffee in your shop is delicious. Luluan said with a smile after tasting the coffee, watching Robin standing cautiously by his side. Tell me, besides being an O'Hara scholar, you should have another identity, right? Yes. Facing Luluan's question, Robin answered without hesitation. I am also the vice president of Baroque Works. May I ask, where do you usually keep the wealth that Baroque Works acquires? Is it here in this spider coffee shop? Luluan asked in a very flat tone, as if he were just asking someone about the weather on the street. But this question struck at the vital weakness of Baroque Works. After all, to complete their plans, a massive amount of wealth was essential. Furthermore, besides hijacking pirates who had just entered the New World, Crocodile had also conspired to plunder a vast amount of wealth within the Alabasta Kingdom. Although much had been spent to incite civil unrest in the kingdom, the wealth currently possessed by Baroque Works was definitely substantial. Upon hearing Luluan's words, Robin's expression froze unnaturally for a moment. The question Luluan asked was too far from what she had expected. Robin had originally thought that Luluan came to the Alabasta Kingdom for the ancient weapon Pluton, but she hadn't expected him to ask about money. For someone of his level, wasn't money just a number? Would an existence like Luluan really care about wealth and berries? Something was wrong. The wealth Luluan spoke of probably wasn't the kind of superficial wealth she understood. Lord Leiluin. Everything currently controlled by Baroque works is in Crocodile's hands. He is a user of the Logia. San fruit. I am not entirely sure exactly how much wealth or intelligence he holds, but I am certain that he has likely hidden these things beneath the sea of sand. Crocodile, huh? He's quite an interesting character. Sarah, the shop assistant from your team who just left, they went to notify Crocodile, right? Yes, Lord Leiluin. Then you should go over there yourself. Tell him I'm waiting for him here and tell him to hurry up. Yes. After hearing Leiluin's words, Sarah pushed open the shop door and left. An outsider might have thought Leiluin was the boss of Baroque works. The reason Leiluin asked Sarah to go personally was that he was afraid the shop assistant who had run off to deliver the news might have made Crocodile too afraid to come after hearing he was here. He was, more or less, quite famous now. Given Crocodile's personality, it was very possible that he wouldn't dare to come after learning of his arrival. After all, his appearance was definitely a huge variable for Crocodile. He had spent so much effort and planned so much in the Alabasta Kingdom, naturally, he wouldn't want it all to go to waste. Recalling Crocodile's arrogant personality, if he told him he was waiting for him here, Crocodile would inevitably overthink it, imagine some inexplicable things, and talk himself into coming, or at least, he wouldn't run away. Watching Sarah leave, Leiluin turned his head to look at Vivi. Vivi, you know what's going on with your country's civil war, right? I know, Lord Leiluin. The reason our country started a civil war is because of this Crocodile. It was him. Just as Vivi was about to explain to Leiluin exactly how the civil war started, Leiluin reached out his hand to interrupt her. Alright, that's enough. After Crocodile arrives, I will resolve this trouble for you. As for what you need to do, it's simply to get the Alabasta Kingdom back on track. However, just as you said before, this kingdom will be the territory of our otherworld traveling group. From now on. Upon hearing Leiluin's words, not only did Vivi not feel anything amiss, but on the contrary, her joy was written all over her face. She looked extremely happy and excited. Thank you, Lord Leiluin. This is the honor of our Alabasta Kingdom. Seeing Vivi's excited state, Leiluin was a bit taken aback. This girl. She really didn't know how turbulent she looked when she was excited. Chapter 65, Hurry. Go meet my captain. Meanwhile, somewhere in the Alabasta Kingdom, Crocodile was draped in a huge gray cloak. Listening to his subordinate's report, the cigarette that had been hanging from his mouth fell to the ground without him even realizing it. Is what you said true? After hearing his subordinate's words, Crocodile's first reaction was disbelief. After all, how could people of the otherworld pirate cruise caliber come to a place like Alabasta? Monsters like that should be staying in the New World. When he saw the newspaper earlier, Crocodile had felt it was incredible. As a member of the Shichibukai himself, he knew very well what kind of person Hawkeye was. Furthermore, besides Hawkeye, the others were also existences that were terrifying to the extreme. This otherworld pirate crew was definitely comparable to the Four Emperors pirate crews. The current Alabasta Kingdom could be described as a desolate backwater, filled with yellow sand and poverty. Ordinary people would absolutely not come to this place. Could it be that they were also here for the ancient weapon? At this moment, such a thought involuntarily burst into Crocodile's mind. And after this thought appeared, it quickly occupied Crocodile's brain. If the other party was truly here for the ancient weapon, could he rely on himself to stop them? The answer was no. Not to mention the existence capable of defeating the Admiral Kizaru, even against Hawkeye Mihawk, he was far from a match. Although he was somewhat arrogant in personality, he was not stupid. Crocodile clearly knew just how great the gap was between him and those top-tier powerhouses. Thinking of this, Crocodile couldn't help but develop the idea of running away. Although it was a pity to just run away after putting in so much effort, in Crocodile's view, none of this was as important as his own life. As one of the 7 warlords of the sea, even if he abandoned this path, he could still make other choices. If he didn't abandon this path, it was very likely that he wouldn't even have a chance to live. Just as Crocodile was frowning and contemplating what decision he should make, a flash of red light suddenly appeared in his eyes, and he looked towards the back. Soon, Sarah's figure appeared in his sight. President! Sarah, you actually came? After seeing Sarah's figure, Crocodile was very puzzled, because in Crocodile's heart, Sarah should have already been a corpse by now. After all, coming into contact with powerhouses of that level was simply too dangerous. With the slightest carelessness, or even if the other party was just in a bad mood, one could die. Seeing Sarah appear before him unscathed, Crocodile naturally felt some pleasant surprise. President, Lord Lailowen wants you to go over, he wants to see you. Facing Crocodile, Sarah's tone was still as respectful as before, but beneath this respect, her eyes were trying hard to conceal her emotions. When Lailowen was talking to Robin just now, he didn't hide anything, but stated it openly. Since Lailowen wanted all the wealth of the Baroque works, it meant that his own president and Lord Lailowen were natural enemies. Lailowen really went to the Spider coffee shop? What is he doing in the Alabasta Kingdom? What did he say to you? Tell me everything that happened inside the Spider coffee shop, quickly. Alright, President, it's like this. Facing Crocodile, Sarah did not choose to tell the truth. She only said that she didn't know why Lailowen appeared in the coffee shop, but he had no malice towards them, and when he invited him over, he seemed quite amiable and showed no signs of anger. And the reason why Sarah said this was because she was afraid that Crocodile wouldn't go. After all, Lord Lailowen had just given her an order to bring Crocodile over. Loyalty or not, it didn't matter at this moment. At this juncture, no one wanted to die, everyone wanted to live. Humans. In fact, no matter when or who they face, they are overwhelmingly selfish creatures. Everyone has their own schemes and calculations in their hearts, everything is basically considered for themselves. This was the situation with Sarah now. It was also the situation with Crocodile after hearing Sarah's words. Lailowen had suddenly appeared on his turf, and had not shown any hostility towards him, even wanting to invite him over to sit. So, could this be an opportunity for him? As for the ancient weapon, since people from the Otherworld pirate crew had appeared here, if they had the intention to compete for it, then this thing would definitely not belong to him. Rather than abandoning all these years of planning and running away, it would be better to seize this opportunity. Since Hawkeye could abandon the identity of Shichibukai and join that Otherworld pirate crew, why couldn't he? Thinking of this, Crocodile felt suddenly enlightened. Lord Lailowen of the Otherworld pirate crew invited him over to sit. Could it be that the other party also had this idea? Wanting to recruit him into the Otherworld pirate crew. After all, according to the current available intelligence, the Otherworld pirate crew didn't seem to have many people. And to dominate in the New World and become an existence at the level of the Four Emperors, even if just to guard territory, it was inevitable that they would need quite a few subordinates. For the Otherworld pirate crew, he indeed seemed to be a good choice. Thinking and thinking, the anxiety and nervousness that had previously been on Crocodile's face completely disappeared. On the contrary, there was a smile of someone holding the winning hand. Opportunities are only reserved for those who are prepared. And as it happens, I am that prepared person. The more Crocodile thought about it, the more he felt his train of thought was smooth. It seems that this time, he might be able to join this mysterious Otherworld pirate crew, and also be able to completely hold the Alabasta Kingdom in his own hands. The reason why he was doing these operations now, spending great effort to incite civil unrest in the kingdom, was only because he had no way to directly overthrow or control the Alabasta Kingdom to search for the ancient weapon directly. After all, even if he had the status of Shichibukai, he had no way to do this. But if he became Lailowen's subordinate, Crocodile felt that all the obstacles that were originally in front of him would be swept away very smoothly. He would be a member of the Otherworld pirate crew. With the current prominence of the Otherworld pirate crew, what couldn't be done? Anyone who dared to obstruct him, that would be going against the Otherworld pirate crew. In their crew, there was a big shot capable of defeating the Admiral Kizaru. Could they afford to provoke an existence of this level? The more Crocodile thought, the more he felt his thoughts were clear. It seemed that everything appeared so smooth, and the logic formed a perfect closed loop in his mind. So Crocodile looked at Sarah with satisfaction. He couldn't even hide his smile completely, and laughed out loud towards the sky. After laughing for a while, he said a sentence to Sarah with some excitement. Hurry! Go meet my captain. Chapter 66, Ugly Face, Beautiful Dreams. Okay, President. Follow me. Sarah looked at Crocodile with some confusion. Although she didn't know why he was so excited and hot-blooded when heading to his death. It was as if he had won the lottery or was participating in some event. But who cares? Crocodile was willing to follow her, so her mission was considered complete, the life or death of this president had nothing to do with her anymore. It only mattered to the lords of the otherworld pirate crew. As long as the lords let him live, he could survive, but if the lords of the otherworld pirate crew were even slightly dissatisfied, then this president would be finished. Right now, Sarah only had one thing on her mind, whether or not she should go back with Crocodile. After all, Sarah clearly knew that the otherworld pirate crew had come for the wealth and achievements of Baroque works this time. And she knew this person, Crocodile. Selfish and arrogant. He was also somewhat conceited, not putting others in his eyes, thinking his intelligence was superior. However, Sarah also knew that Crocodile wasn't stupid. After knowing the other party was the otherworld pirate crew, it was impossible for him to arrogantly place himself in a high position. When facing true powerhouses, he would still know when to cower. But the key was whether Crocodile was willing to willingly hand over everything he currently possessed. Sarah couldn't guarantee this at all. Because handing over here meant that there could be no schemes, truly giving everything to the other party. Just now, after seeing Crocodile's smile, Sarah suspected. In Crocodile's mind right now, he might even be wanting to scheme against the otherworld pirate crew. And if that were the case, he would probably die, right? Inside the Spider coffee shop, Luluan and the others were still making Robin act as a laborer, because after Hawkeye finished serving Yasuo, he started asking Robin for tips on brewing coffee. The reason for this situation was that after Yasuo finished drinking the coffee, he said, "It's quite good." Robin looked at Hawkeye, who was earnestly asking for advice beside her. Her mind was full of question marks. How did the world's strongest swordsman seem to have changed now? She still remembered Crocodile telling her that Hawkeye was aloof and proud, his only pursuit in life was the way of the sword, and he was someone extremely obsessed with sparring to improve himself, who wouldn't waste his time on other things. This perception was clearly wrong. Looking at the Hawkeye before her, Robin always felt that he seemed more interested in how to brew good coffee and how to cook good food. Besides asking her for tips on brewing coffee, he even took the menu from her coffee shop and read it so seriously. Knock, knock, knock. While everyone in the shop was tasting snacks, a polite knock sounded. And at this moment, everyone in the shop just continued their actions, except for Robin. No one seemed to pay attention to the knocking. After Luluan finished chewing the biscuit in his mouth, he spoke softly. "Come in." The door was gently opened, and Sarah's figure walked in first, coming to Luluan's side. "Lord Luluan, our president has arrived." Luluan turned his head and took a look. The person who came had slicked back hair, a horizontal scar on his face, an earring in his right ear, and a golden hook on his left hand. It was said that it contained a poisonous hook with scorpion venom and a blade. If the poisoned person did not disinfect it immediately, they would soon die from the poison. He wore a black fur coat with an orange plaid long-sleeved shirt underneath. I have to say, this image had the style of an Italian mafia boss. It's just a pity that while the image looked murderous, the smile on his face could only be described as somewhat fawning. "Lord Luluan, I am Crocodile, the president of Baroque Works. It is truly flattering that you could grace my coffee shop with your presence." After Crocodile entered the room, he immediately felt like his heart was about to jump out. Because the aura of the few people sitting at the table was simply too powerful. Especially that Pluton wearing black armor, and that so-called Pluton Rayleigh, Roger's first mate, they were completely not on the same level. The person in front of him was clearly much stronger than that. Rayleigh, he didn't know by how many times. This person's momentum was stronger than an admiral of the headquarters, much, much stronger. Although he had learned of the bounty before, it was far less shocking than meeting in person. Moreover, among the few, Crocodile could tell at a glance which one was the captain. The aura of the others was strong, but that kind of strength was obvious. Only the young man sitting at the head of the table looked particularly mysterious at a glance, and he was definitely a top powerhouse. So Crocodile went directly in front of Luluan. Oh, how flattered. Looking at Crocodile, Luluan asked back without hesitation. What? At this moment, Crocodile's entire expression was conveying his confusion, completely failing to react to the question Luluan asked. Didn't you say you were flattered? Tell me, how much were you flattered, and how much were you surprised? Listening to Luluan's question, Crocodile was truly confused. This remark was simply too outrageous and abstract, completely beyond the common sense of things, and completely exceeded the expectations in his mind. This shouldn't be something that such a powerhouse could say. This sounded more like the crazy talk that only someone with mental stimulation could say. How on earth was he supposed to answer such a question? Forget it, you don't need to answer this question. Just answer my next question: where did you put the treasure of your Baroque works? Hearing the question Luluan asked again. Crocodile not only didn't feel offended, but even let out a sigh of relief because of this question. Finally, a serious question was asked, and the other party also showed interest in his Baroque works. Treasure? The Captain Luluan in front of him was clearly asking for Baroque works. No, he was clearly asking for his loyalty. After all, he himself was the most precious treasure of the entire Baroque works. Nowadays, he was the only one who knew some of the news about Pluton. Thinking of this, looking at Luluan in front of him, Crocodile knelt on one knee without hesitation. Captain, I, Crocodile, am willing to pledge my loyalty to you and join the Otherworld pirate crew. And this kneeling of Crocodile truly stunned Luluan. What's going on? Why did this guy suddenly kneel? He even said he wanted to pledge his loyalty to him and join the Otherworld pirate crew. There are mirrors in this world. How could this guy say such nonsense? Really, ugly face, beautiful dreams. Chapter 67, I have no regrets anymore. That's all easy to say. First, take me to see the treasures of your Baroque works. Looking at Crocodile, who was kneeling on one knee before him, Luluan really couldn't bring himself to be happy. As a straight man of the new era, he was a genuine, red-blooded man, and he didn't particularly like rough men, especially rough men who were somewhat ugly like Crocodile. If beauties like Nami or Vivi were to kneel on one knee before him, he could appreciate the scenery of their mountains and valleys, and his mood would be extremely pleasant. But Crocodile, I don't know what treasure you are referring to. Crocodile, kneeling on the ground, was a bit confused when he heard what Luluan said again. Because he didn't know exactly what treasure Luluan was referring to. Don't you know what treasure means? It's berries, gold, jewelry, devil fruits, and so on. Hurry up and take me to see how much your Baroque works has accumulated over these years. Oh, so that's the treasure you mean? Of course, Captain, please follow me. Strange. But this might just be a peculiar hobby unique to the strong. Just like how Charlotte Linlin likes to eat delicacies, perhaps his captain prefers treasures in the traditional sense. Thinking of this, Crocodile didn't hesitate any longer and immediately led Luluan out of the Spider coffee shop, heading towards his treasure vault. And Luluan, looking at the Crocodile leading the way, was completely speechless. This old guy. Between his words, it seemed he had already considered himself a member of the Otherworld pirate crew. However, this was also good, the cooperation would be higher, and after he took all the treasures, he could just casually slaughter this guy. Yes. From the very beginning, Luluan had no intention of sparing Crocodile's life. After all, Luluan didn't particularly like what Crocodile had done. Furthermore, if he wanted the people of Alabasta to truly submit to the Otherworld pirate crew, then Crocodile, the mastermind who caused the kingdom's civil unrest and turned the kingdom into this miserable state, must die. His status as a Shichibukai could not serve as his life-saving charm. Because Luluan didn't particularly care what the Marine or the world government would do. Only Yasuo left with Luluan, the others remained in the shop. Just a mere Crocodile. It wasn't necessary to make such a big scene. While walking along the way, Crocodile was also very curious about the identity of Yasuo, who was following behind Luluan. Because this person was a completely unfamiliar face, never seen on any bounty poster, it seemed he was a member of the otherworld pirate crew unknown to the outside world. And this person's strength was also very powerful, which Crocodile could feel. When he looked at Yasuo, he always had a strange thought. This guy wearing a cowboy hat in front of him always gave him a feeling of wanting to bow down and submit. It wasn't that he himself wanted to bow to him, but his ability wanted to bow to him. Crocodile could feel that his San fruit ability seemed to have weakened after meeting this person. His perception and connection to the surrounding sand were significantly weaker. And once he wanted to use his ability, it was as if he had to obtain this person's consent. This feeling was very subtle, but Crocodile didn't dare to ask more, just respectfully leading the way in front, walking towards the treasure vault. After walking not too far, Crocodile stopped his footsteps. As he waved his large hand, Yasuo lifted his eyes slightly. The sand on the ground instantly scattered in all directions, revealing a pitch-black, large hole. Crocodile looked at his hand, then looked at Yasuo in confusion. Just now, when he dispersed these sands, although he connected to them through the power of his sand fruit, it seemed that the sand didn't scatter because of him. This is your treasure vault, right? Before Crocodile could ponder, Luluan asked him. Yes. Are there any other places? No, Captain. This is the only treasure vault of our Baroque works. Because we have to support the rebel army, Baroque works hasn't accumulated much treasure. Speaking of which, the funds for the rebel army should be almost used up recently. The part accumulated during this period hasn't been sent over yet. If you need it. Before Crocodile could finish, Luluan jumped in directly. Yasuo, who was beside him, also jumped in. Seeing this, Crocodile didn't hesitate and followed him in. Wow! Golden Legend! The space underground was much larger than Luluan had imagined. And inside, it was packed with all kinds of boxes. The richness of the items inside was no less than the Tenryubito tribute. Besides box after box of berries and a large amount of gold and silver treasures, what made Luluan feel pleasantly surprised was that there were quite a few devil fruits inside. There were as many as a dozen of them. I didn't expect you to have so many devil fruits here, Crocodile. You really gave me a surprise. Captain, these devil fruits are basically some relatively weak Zoan-type devil fruits. However, for the Alabasta Kingdom, these fruits can definitely cultivate a group of not-so-weak warriors in a short time. When talking about these devil fruits, Crocodile's tone was full of pride. It could be seen. The collection of these devil fruits had taken him quite a lot of effort. However, for Luluan, this was simply a huge surprise. Looking at this warehouse full of good things, Luluan couldn't wait to ask the system in his mind. System, come out. We've struck it rich. Ding. Loot detected, estimated total value is about 2.15 billion berries. Does the host choose to collect everything? Over 2 billion. This guy really put in a lot of effort. These devil fruits were actually not artificial devil fruits, but genuine, good things. Although he had long known that Crocodile had quite a bit of ambition and had been constantly preparing for his ambition, after actually seeing the hidden wealth, Luluan still felt surprised. It was simply great. Having ambition really requires working hard. Luluan turned his head and happened to see Crocodile's proud smile. System, collect everything. With a gentle wave of his hand towards the massive wealth in front of him, everything instantly disappeared before everyone's eyes. This move by Luluan clearly startled Crocodile again. Watching the other's proud expression freeze on his face, his mouth slowly opening, and his eyeballs seeming to want to pop out, Luluan asked a question. In view of the fact that you have provided me with so much wealth, Crocodile, do you have any regrets? After hearing Luluan's question, Crocodile recalled the terrifying space-type ability just now and quickly adjusted his expression. In his eyes looking at Luluan, besides admiration, there was also self-satisfaction. Having joined such an amazing pirate crew, whatever he wanted to do later would be easy. Regrets? The new boss asked him such a question? He wasn't stupid, could he not know how to answer? Captain, being fortunate enough to meet you, I have no regrets anymore. Chapter 68, The Death of Crocodile. Crocodile is a stand-up guy, after all. He actually said he had no regrets without a moment's hesitation. Originally, seeing Crocodile being so cooperative, Luluan had thought about giving him a chance and helping him realize his dreams or something. But who would have thought? Crocodile just threw that opportunity away. No regrets, that's good then. Living like this is truly too exhausting for you. Having too many schemes isn't a good thing, and your ambition is too great. Rest well. Crocodile listened to Luluan's words. He had originally thought that Captain Luluan was acknowledging him. But the more he listened to Luluan, the stranger he felt. Why did it feel like, the more he listened, the more it sounded like he was being talked to death? Captain Luluan, what do you mean? I don't quite understand. Seeing the confused look on Crocodile's face, Luluan didn't offer much explanation, simply signaling to Yasuo at his side. Seeing this look from Luluan, Crocodile seemed to finally realize something, his eyes instantly filled with terror. He immediately began to mobilize his power, preparing to elementalize and flee. Although he wasn't entirely clear on the terrifying abilities of these two big shots, Crocodile knew he couldn't think, he had to use his most effective life-saving ability immediately. But unfortunately, Crocodile looked at his own body, and it didn't turn into sand as he had expected. Instead, it's you! Seeing that his power had absolutely no reaction, Crocodile recalled the strange feeling he had just now. Then, he looked at Yasuo with sudden terror. The power of rules in this world is truly strange. It actually finds subordinates but doesn't grant the source. It seems it requires constant development and awakening to possess the true power of the subordinate rule. But even if developed to the extreme, one only becomes a subordinate and cannot reach the source directly. While Yasuo was speaking, Crocodile's entire body had already turned into pure sand in an instant, and his vital signs vanished without any warning. With a single thought from Yasuo, he completely maintained Crocodile, the sand fruit user, in his state of sand. He just happened to run into the muzzle of this skin of mine. The power this skin possesses happens to be at the level of the source. When he came over earlier, I had a strange feeling that I could control him. Regarding Yasuo's words, Luluan had absolutely no doubts. After all, every one of Yasuo's skins had corresponding source rule level abilities in this world. Even the most ordinary skin, Cowboy, had invincible strength after being used in this world. Otherwise, relying solely on his base form, Yasuo's combat power in this world might not have been set directly to the invincible level. Crocodile, the sand fruit user. Having Yasuo do it could actually spare him a lot of pain. It took only a thought. Crockle. As Crocodile, now a pile of human-shaped sand, scattered on the ground, Luluan and Yasuo leaped out of the underground storage room. With a thought from Yasuo, the sea of sand surged. The deep pit was quickly filled by the rushing sand, and the two left shortly after. Perhaps no one in the outside world would ever know that a generation of heroes, Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, had completely disappeared from this place without causing a stir. Soon, the two returned to the Spider coffee shop together. Robin glanced over, seeing that Crocodile's figure was no longer behind them. Robin immediately knelt down. Meanwhile, inside the coffee shop, the other remaining officers of Baroque Works, seeing that Crocodile had not returned with Luluan and Yasuo, already knew in their hearts what had happened. Seeing Robin kneel without hesitation, they immediately chose to follow suit. The remaining officers of Baroque Works all knelt in unison before Luluan. Lord Luluan, we are willing to obey your orders and follow you. When Robin spoke, she didn't just speak for herself, but brought along the many officers of Baroque Works behind her. After seeing this action from Robin and the others, Vivi and Mr. Nine, who were nearby, also chose to kneel together. Seeing this scene, Luluan waved his hand casually. In fact, Luluan had no intention of killing these people in the coffee shop. After all, if he wanted to truly rebuild the kingdom of Alabasta, he would definitely need some manpower. Relying solely on Vivi, even if she could resolve the internal strife, she would face a severe shortage of manpower. Now, these people from Baroque works could just stay behind to serve as Vivi's subordinates. The key was that Vivi was very familiar with them, making them easier to use, which would allow the kingdom of Alabasta to return to the right path faster. Only in this way could they bring him wealth as quickly and continuously as possible. This was a very important matter for Laluan. Alright, you can all get up. Rest assured, just follow Vivi and help rebuild the kingdom of Alabasta. From now on, the kingdom of Alabasta is my territory. You must do your best to rebuild the country and help it escape poverty and become prosperous as soon as possible. Upon hearing Laluan's words, Robin suddenly felt that she might have been wrong before. The Captain Laluan before her was indeed a person who loved treasure very much. However, everyone in life has their own preferences. Perhaps this powerful captain just liked these things. After nodding in affirmation, Robin cast her eyes toward Vivi. Although Laluan intended for these people from Baroque works to work under Vivi. However, Robin did not want to stay in the kingdom of Alabasta with Vivi. What Robin wanted was to board the ship of the otherworld pirate crew and fulfill her true wish. In this world today, she was the only O'Hara scholar left. This was her most unique value. Thank you, Lord Laluan. After Laluan finished speaking, everyone kneeling on the ground stood up one after another. The gratitude in their eyes didn't look like an act. Looking at the atmosphere, Robin didn't immediately bring up her desire to board the ship, but mentioned something to Laluan with some concern. My lord, you have claimed the kingdom of Alabasta as your own territory. The world government and the Marines certainly won't let this go easily. Furthermore, Crocodile is one of the 7 warlords of the sea. When we resolve the civil war, the news of Crocodile's death will likely not be kept secret. They might take action then. Do you think we should keep these things under wraps while we resolve the internal conflict? Chapter 69, New Companions, Yon. Ji Qiang. Listening to Robin's words, Laluan ordered calmly, there's no need for that. Sorting out the kingdom as soon as possible is what's most critical. A joke. The Marine? The world government? Looking at these companions beside him, Laluan didn't feel there was any threat, nor was there any need to hide or cover anything up. Moreover, besides these companions, he now had a full 2.2 billion berries in wealth in his hands. For him, this wealth symbolized new companions and new settings. Inside the Spider coffee shop, after giving instructions to Vivi and the others, Vivi soon left with a group of officers, leaving only Robin behind to keep Laluan company in the shop. After all, the kingdom was currently in the midst of civil strife. Especially when Laluan and the others had just arrived, many members of the rebel army had actually been knocked unconscious by Laluan's Haushaku. Right now, the rebel army in the city was likely still searching. Furthermore, because the Alabasta kingdom was not an ordinary small island, its overall area was vast. Currently, many Royal Army soldiers were still fighting against the rebel army. At any given moment, someone might lose their life because of this. And these people, without exception, were all people who loved the kingdom. The sooner Vivi resolved the internal strife of the kingdom and revealed Crocodile's conspiracy to the world, the sooner she could reduce these unnecessary casualties and let these people who loved their country live. Meanwhile, Laluan, inside the Spider coffee shop, was excitedly communicating with the system in his mind. Ding! The host currently has a balance of 2.2 billion berries. Would the host like to choose to summon a full 2.2 billion berries? Ever since Laluan transmigrated to this world, he had never fought such a wealthy battle. Yes. First, give me one summon for a Myriad Worlds character companion. Ding. Summoning Myriad Worlds character companion. Congratulations to the host for obtaining companion, Yon. Yon, in life, he was Yon, Yasuo's half-brother and a well-known disciple of his hometown sword-fighting dojo. But after he died at his brother's hands, he found himself plagued by a malevolent spirit from the spirit realm and had to kill it with his own blade. Now, the cursed Yon has donned its demon mask and begun an untiring hunt. He intends to hunt down all demons of the same kind. Furthermore, due to the blessing of mysterious power, he can transform into various forms and obtain various extreme powers, such as Spirit Blossom, Dawnbringer, Prestige Heartsteel, High Nuni Seraph, and so on. Skills: Way of the Hunter, Mortal Steel, Spirit Cleave, Soul Unbound, Fate Sealed. Setting in this world: invincible. Great! The first character summoned made Luluan very satisfied. He had just summoned the younger brother, Yasuo, not long ago. He hadn't expected the older brother to be brought to this world so soon. As for the story of Yon and Yasuo, Luluan had actually seen quite a bit before. The regret and brotherly love in that animated short film had moved Luluan deeply. Now, being able to let the two brothers stand together again in this world could be considered satisfying some of his own small regrets. Moreover, the two brothers in this world could be considered to have experienced a rebirth in the absolute sense. Without all those messy things from before, presumably, after reuniting in this world, these two brothers would be able to live more happily. While this good luck was still present, system, give me one more summon for a myriad worlds. Character Companion. Ding. Summoning Myriad Worlds Character Companion. Congratulations to the host for obtaining companion, Jiqian, Bald Chang. Jiqian, Bald Chang, formerly a logger and hunter, he later changed professions to become a tour guide. Because he was frequently obstructed by Bear Big and Bear 2 and could not successfully log and deliver goods, he suffered salary deductions from Bosley. However, through repeated confrontations and interactions, Bald Chang gradually established a deep friendship with the animals in the forest, turning from enemies into friends. Eventually, he not only gave up his logging career but also changed professions to become a tour guide, fighting side by side with Bear Big and Bear 2 to protect this forest. Later, because of the interference of mysterious power, Bald Chang's personality changed drastically, awakening the second personality Jiqian, successfully evolving into a conceptual-level character, and extending the Jiqian literature unique to Jiqiang. Besides this, he also retains various abilities of the original Bald Chang. Skills: Transform into Jiqiang, Instant Transformation to Conceptual Level, Bald Ray, Time Travel, Super Particle Beam, Solidification Ray, Shining Heaven Opening, Shining Limit, etc., various abilities from the big movies. Setting in this world: invincible. Good heavens! This time, the summon had actually brought out another conceptual level god for him. Bald Chang, this person was someone he was intimately familiar with, and also one of the most classic characters in his childhood memories. This series had released many big movies, and Bald Chang's various abilities within them could already be considered invincible. But the key was Jiqiang. This conceptual level invincible character, purely created by netizens playing with memes, had actually become one of the skills of the Bald Chang he summoned. This invincibility was invincible in the true sense of the setting. After all, Jiqiang literature was enough to prove how invincible the existence of the Jiqiang entity was. These two summons today really made Luluan feel overjoyed. He had summoned two more great gods. Now, the companions in his otherworld traveling group were becoming more numerous, and the ship was becoming livelier. It hadn't actually been that long since he arrived in this world. Yet he had gone from being terrified at the beginning, with only one person and one small, broken wooden boat, to becoming the captain of the otherworld pirate crew, already famous throughout the world, possessing 5 invincible companions: Saitama, Pluton, Yasuo, Yon, and Jiqiang. Thinking of this, Luluan felt happy. Come out, my companions! Following a roar in Luluan's consciousness, inside the spider coffee shop, an image interwoven with red and blue suddenly appeared. Then, a figure, as if from an infinitely distant place, instantly popped into this image. Yon! It really is you. Brother! The moment the figure appeared, Yasuo instantly arrived in front of it, his whole person appearing very emotional. Seeing Yon had truly arrived, Yasuo did not hesitate and directly embraced him. A bitter and salty scent drifted in the wind. This time, it was no longer the aura of regret. Instead, it was the tears of excitement and happiness flowing from the two of them reuniting. Although the past hurt the deepest, now in this world, all the past had vanished like smoke in thin air. The two brothers reuniting again was already the most worthwhile happy thing in this world. And while the two were embracing affectionately, beside Yasuo, a golden light hole appeared out of thin air. Chapter 70, Would you like to change ships? The moment I put on this hat, there is only Chang left. My chainsaw only roars for protection. Your blood is not worthy of sharpening its blade. You have no chance of winning against me, who carries the will of the forest. I must go back, even if I have to cut my way through this place, because everyone in Bear Ridge is still waiting for me. As the golden light portal vanished, a bald man appeared before everyone's eyes, wearing a yellow vest and blue pants, with a casual look, no glasses, large eyes, and a small mustache above his lips. Another bald man. Another. Chang. Bald. Chang. Compared to Yon, bald Chang felt more honest and simple to Luluan, but the golden light emanating from his body and his aura were equally impossible to ignore. Only after scanning everyone around him did bald Chang retract the golden light radiating from his body. So many years have passed, and I always thought there was no one outside the forest worth me taking action against. You partners are actually quite similar to my old friends in the forest. I'm sure we will get along very well. While bald Chang was speaking, he didn't have the honest, simple feeling from the early days of the cartoon in Luluan's memory. Instead, there was a sense of unfathomable power. Perhaps it was because of the blessing of the only Chang personality. Hey, you're bald too. Seeing bald Chang appear before him, Saitama immediately leaned in, shaking bald Chang's hand with some excitement. Bald Chang was equally happy to see Saitama, not only because the Saitama before him was his partner, but also because he sensed that Saitama was just as mysterious and powerful as the forest in his memories. Robin, inside the Spider coffee shop, was stunned after witnessing the arrival of two incredibly powerful individuals. It seems the Otherworld pirate crew is even more terrifying than she had imagined. These two people, including Yasuo, three people who had never appeared on any bounty posters, all gave her the same feeling of being mysterious and powerful. She had never heard the name of the Otherworld pirate crew before. But now it seems the four emperors probably wouldn't be a match for the Otherworld pirate crew either. Robin always felt that meeting the Otherworld pirate crew might be the luckiest thing to happen in her life, and the only possibility of realizing her ideals. That night, at the Spider coffee shop, Luluan and the others welcomed their first night of revelry on land. Cheers! Clink! As everyone clinked their glasses, Luluan drank the fine wine in his cup in one gulp. Perhaps because his constitution had become much stronger, after downing a large glass of wine, Luluan didn't feel any dizziness or discomfort. He could even taste a wine aroma he hadn't experienced before. The wine in the One Piece world was indeed crisp, sweet, and had an endless aftertaste. Lord Luluan. Just as everyone was drinking heartily, Robin walked up to Luluan with a glass of wine. Lord Luluan, can I follow your ship from now on? I am currently the only person in the world who can read the poneglyph. Presumably, I should be of some use to you. And from what I understand, your ship currently seems to be a standard marine warship. I wonder if you are interested in changing to a different ship. Luluan was not surprised that Robin came to talk to him and proposed the idea of boarding his ship. Because Luluan clearly knew that Robin's dream was to collect all the poneglyphs. And now Robin had proposed changing ships. This must mean, Lord Luluan, there are two poneglyphs hidden in the Alabasta Kingdom. They are key clues to the Void Century history that the world government is desperately trying to cover up. One of them is the poneglyph that records clues to Pluton, which records the location of the ancient weapon Pluton. This Pluton was not his partner, Pluton, but one of the three ancient weapons of the One Piece world. The reason Crocodile went through so much trouble to stage a coup in the Alabasta Kingdom and carry out this series of actions was for this Pluton. This Pluton was a super battleship built in Water 7, possessing the destructive power to destroy an island with a single shot. It could be said to be the most powerful ship in the entire One Piece world. With the current reputation of the Otherworld pirate crew, only sailing a marine warship like this really didn't seem to match their status. This ship seemed like a really good choice for him. However, if he remembered correctly, this ship shouldn't be in the Alabasta Kingdom. It currently seems to be buried in Wano country. But with this poneglyph, it was equivalent to having a specific map to this ship. And things like poneglyphs sounded like they were worth collecting. There was nothing wrong with letting Robin board the ship. Furthermore, there was another unread poneglyph in the Alabasta Kingdom. There were 13 poneglyphs in total, including 4 road poneglyphs and 9 information poneglyphs. The road poneglyphs were read, and based on the descriptions of the 4, one could draw a sea chart leading to the final island, Laughtail. Now that he was in the Alabasta Kingdom, he naturally had to secure these 2 poneglyphs. After waiting for the Alabasta Kingdom to truly stabilize, he could let Robin, Vivi, and Yasuo go find these poneglyphs. You mean the Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons, right? Hearing Luluan mention the ancient weapon, Robin didn't feel any surprise. After all, from the beginning, Robin believed that the reason Luluan and the others came to the Alabasta Kingdom was for Pluton, one of the 3 ancient weapons. And this was equivalent to her pledge of allegiance. After all, only she could read the poneglyphs now. The location of Pluton could only be known through her. Yes, Lord Luluan, and I already know where the poneglyph that records the location of Pluton is. Fine. After Vivi stabilizes the Alabasta Kingdom, you can start working on this. We should be staying here for a while. Besides that poneglyph, there is another one in this country, buried in a mysterious cave underground. Later, I will have Yasuo accompany you to find it. Thank you, Captain. Robin will certainly not let you down. Alright, everyone, keep drinking and keep eating. The joyful atmosphere in the Spider coffee shop lasted for several days and nights. During these few days, with the help of the various officers of Baroque Works, Vivi quickly announced the truth of the matter in the capital, as well as Crocodile's previous actions. Countless citizens were awakened and realized how foolish everything they had done previously was. They also hated Crocodile, the culprit who had turned their beautiful kingdom into what it was now. However, many citizens also knew that Crocodile was one of the 7 warlords of the sea, so even if they wanted revenge, they dared not easily take action against him. Therefore, when Vivi announced that the culprit, Crocodile, had been killed by Captain Luluan of the Otherworld pirate crew, and that Captain Luluan would also protect the Alabasta Kingdom, the citizens were all very excited and happy. Facing the matter of the kingdom submitting to the Otherworld pirate crew, almost no one opposed it. In just a few short days, the entire kingdom took on a completely new look. Gone was the fear and anxiety of the previous civil strife. Everywhere, there was joyous reconstruction work. And with such huge changes happening in the Alabasta Kingdom and such big events taking place, naturally, the news could not be kept hidden. Thus, the news that Crocodile, one of the 7 warlords of the sea, had been killed by the Otherworld pirate crew spread like wildfire. Chapter 71, The Marine Must Make a Move. Marine Headquarters. Marineford. Bang! Inside Fleet Admiral Sengoku's office. The Marine's top brass were all gathered here, and for the first time in a long while, all 3 admirals were assembled at headquarters for this meeting. In the office at this moment, Akaina looked extremely agitated. He slammed a fist onto the table in front of him and spoke to Sengoku. This Otherworld pirate crew is simply too arrogant. They dared to blatantly kill one of the Shichibukai and even took Alabasta under their command. This is an open provocation against the world government and an open provocation against us, the Marine. They completely disregard us. This menace, the Otherworld pirate crew, must be dealt with as soon as possible. Faced with Akainu's roar, everyone in the office wore an exceptionally grave expression, but no one refuted Akainu's point. This time, the actions of the Otherworld pirate crew were truly too excessive. The severity and impact of their deeds were even more outrageous than killing a celestial dragon. Previously, when a celestial dragon was killed, the Marine and the world government suppressed the news, so not many people knew about that incident. The world only knew that an Otherworld pirate crew had suddenly appeared, containing exceptionally powerful experts who had defeated Garp and Kizaru. They knew nothing else. They didn't even know what kind of abilities these people from the Otherworld pirate crew possessed, or what they looked like. But after this incident, it was no longer possible for either the Marine or the world government to forcefully suppress the influence of the Otherworld pirate crew. The allegiance of a member nation, and Alabasta, a unique and massive member nation at that. Now that this news had spread, the impact on the credibility of the Marine and the world government was immense. Even Sengoku, sitting at the head of the table, knew clearly that this matter likely could not be resolved peacefully. They had to take action against the Otherworld pirate crew. Previous incidents only proved that the Otherworld pirate crew had a few extremely powerful individuals, but the impact on the world wasn't actually that great. It only proved that there were a few monsters in that crew. But now, what the Otherworld pirate crew had done had crossed the red line of the Marine and the world government. Although the Gorosei had not yet called to give specific orders, Sengoku knew that. This time, they would likely have to face the Otherworld pirate crew head-on. Previously, due to the defeat of Garp and Kizaru, Sengoku actually didn't want to clash with the Otherworld pirate crew, such a mysterious and powerful group. But given the current situation, Sengoku, this matter is of great importance. We must come up with a perfect plan. If it comes to a direct conflict, I feel that even if all three admirals are deployed, victory is not guaranteed. And if it reaches that point, even if we win, it will likely be a Pyrrhic victory. Tsuru, who was sitting to the side, spoke slowly. Faced with Tsuru's words, even though Akainu was currently hot-headed with anger, he obediently sat back down in his seat. After the previous incident, Akainu had talked to Kizaru quite a bit. Naturally, he knew just how terrifying that guy in the yellow spandex suit was. He was actually able to severely injure Kizaru even in his elemental form. One must know that even Akainu himself had no way to deal with Kizaru's elemental form. Furthermore, according to Kizaru, that guy hadn't even mastered armament haki. It seemed he had simply injured Kizaru's elemental form using the most basic, raw power. Although Akainu was somewhat skeptical of Kizaru's words, it was undeniable that the guy in the yellow spandex suit was extremely strong. Moreover, according to the intelligence the Marine had obtained, that guy seemed to also possess formidable Haushaku. And besides the guy named Saitama, that Pluton also seemed to possess extraordinary abilities, capable of temporarily stripping others of their devil fruit powers. Now, the title of Pluton had completely been attributed to this Pluton of the Otherworld pirate crew. As for the former pirate king's first mate, Rayleigh, the Marine had even reissued a new bounty for him in the past 2 days, changing his title to First Mate of the Pirate King Rayleigh. This new title was actually just a simple description of his identity. To the Marine, this Pluton of the Otherworld pirate crew was the one who seemed like the real Pluton, possessing incredible and special abilities. My suggestion is not to act rashly for now. Sengoku, you should first contact the Gorosei and see what kind of support they will send. With just Akainu, Akiji, Kizaru, and us old folks, I'm afraid we might not be a match for those monsters. Listening to Garp's words, Akainu felt particularly bitter inside. Among the 3 admirals at Marine headquarters, Akainu had always considered himself the strongest. Kizaru was just slippery. In terms of pure combat power, he shouldn't be his match. As for Akiji, just looking at his sense of justice, he knew he couldn't possibly be his match. Although Akainu knew that since Garp and Kizaru were so afraid of that person, his strength must be extremely high. But Akainu was still somewhat unconvinced. With the Marine's current lineup, wouldn't dealing with a mere 2 people be more than enough? Even if that guy in the yellow spandex suit was strong, he could hold him off for a while, and the rest of the generals could swarm him. They would definitely be able to take out the others. Finally, if everyone attacked together, no one could withstand such an assault. In Akainu's view, the Marine had absolutely no need to be so afraid. The reason for the current situation was solely because of the previous defeat of Garp and Kizaru, which had led to everyone lacking confidence. Otherwise, how could a mere newly emerged pirate crew be worthy of such attention from the Marine? Aren't they just 2 guys with Haushaku? Wait. 2 people with Haushaku. And according to Kizaru, that mysterious Pluton didn't look like someone who would submit to others based on his aura alone. It seemed he should also possess Haushaku. So many people with King's disposition gathered on the same ship. In that case, perhaps this Otherworld pirate crew wasn't really as hard to deal with as imagined. At the very least, there might be some means to cope with them. Chapter 72, Marine Plan, Target, Pluton Fleet Admiral Sengoku. I actually have a good idea. Seeing everyone in the office with their heads bowed, pondering a countermeasure, Akainu couldn't help but speak in a low voice at this moment. "Oh? What is your idea?" Hearing that Akainu actually wanted to offer a suggestion, Sengoku showed a somewhat incredulous expression. To think that this fellow, who usually pursued absolute justice, would actually take the initiative to propose a strategy. "Fleet Admiral Sengoku, it seems that several people in that otherworld pirate crew all possess the qualities of a king." Hearing Akainu's words, everyone sitting in the office raised their heads in unison. Although Akainu had only said this one simple sentence, everyone already understood the meaning behind his words. Rox D. Zebek. This familiar name immediately surfaced in Garp's mind. The current otherworld pirate crew really does bear a resemblance to the Rox pirates of the past. But this captain completely lacked the overbearing dominance that Rox had back then, which crushed everything in its path. Currently, the whole world is buzzing with discussions about two of his crew members, yet this captain alone seems to have never truly made a move. Furthermore, based on their previous encounter, Garp could make a preliminary judgment. This man, Luluan, is not a hegemon in the true sense like Rox was. Although he might also possess the qualities of a king, he knew just how unique Conqueror's Haki was. Perhaps Akainu's method really is feasible. Regardless of success or failure, it's at least worth a try. "I think Akainu's method is worth a try," Garp said. As Garp spoke, the remaining generals all nodded in agreement, Saru included. Even Akiji, who had always been at odds with Akainu, nodded in approval. Regardless of the outcome, this method is indeed worth a shot. It's just, who should we send to complete this mission? And which member of the otherworld pirate crew should we contact? Hearing Akiji's words, the generals present no longer sat with their heads down as if looking for cracks in the table. Instead, they began to discuss heatedly one after another. Garp and Kizaru shared many of their thoughts regarding their last encounter with the otherworld pirate crew. Finally, after a heated discussion, the Marines first decided on the person they should contact for this defection attempt. Pluton. I also think Pluton is the most suitable because he possesses an unparalleled aura, the kind of presence only a leader has. Such a person should naturally be unwilling to remain subordinate to another. And during the last battle, after that Pluton stripped away my fruit ability, he didn't choose to take it away but instead returned it to me. It's clear that he must have had some thoughts in his mind back then. Compared to Saitama, who harbors strong hostility toward the Marines, Pluton is indeed the best candidate. Due to Pluton's long-standing overbearing aura as someone in a high position, the Marines unanimously set their target as Pluton. As for who would contact Pluton, Sengoku decided without hesitation. The discussion on this matter ends here. I will report our plan in detail to the Gorosei. As for the person to contact Pluton, let the Gorosei dispatch someone from their side. Since they still didn't know what kind of personality Pluton had or what the specific situation was, Sengoku did not want to send anyone from Marineford. A man like Pluton was simply too dangerous. If the person sent was of too low a rank, they certainly wouldn't be able to approach Pluton or speak with him. But if the person's rank was high, then the Marines currently couldn't afford such a risk or loss. Because in the near future, the Marines had a major event to handle, which had been in preparation for quite some time and could not afford any mistakes. Coincidentally, after this incident, the Gorosei might also want to contact the otherworld pirate crew. Now, this plan of his could be considered giving the Gorosei an opportunity. The meeting ended. After the generals left the conference room, Sengoku took out the golden den mushi locked in the safe and dialed that familiar yet loathsome number. Beep, beep, beep. Sengoku, what is going on with the matter of the Alabasta Kingdom? Listening to the voice coming from the other end of the line, Sengoku's voice was also low. The Marines have no prior records regarding the members of the otherworld pirate crew. However, I have a plan here that we've discussed and deemed feasible. Facing the Gorosei, Sengoku maintained his usual indifferent attitude. However, the voice on the other side was clearly accustomed to Sengoku's behavior. Oh? I didn't think you Marines would actually be able to propose a plan. Let's hear it. It's like this, Garp and Kizaru have met Pluton of the otherworld pirate crew before. That man possesses an extremely strong overbearing aura. Although there are no records, he definitely possesses the qualities of a king. Furthermore, according to our intelligence, their captain Luluan doesn't seem to be the same kind of person as Rox. Over the phone, Sengoku revealed some of the Marines' intelligence along with the plan they had just discussed. As of now, that is the situation. Fine, I understand. Beep, beep, beep. Hearing the sound of the call hanging up, Sengoku smiled. Good, this plan can be considered a success. At least for now, the Marines don't have to do this dangerous thing. Although the plan proposed by Akainu is the most feasible one at the moment and makes some sense, Sengoku still had a premonition in his heart. This plan will definitely fail. Captain Luluan of the Otherworld pirate crew is definitely not as simple as he is described in the intelligence currently available. A sunny and cheerful handsome guy, a mysterious powerhouse, the fact that two such completely different impressions could overlap is, in itself, an extremely terrifying thing. Over the past few days, according to the intelligence, Luluan's group has been entrenched in the royal capital of the Alabasta Kingdom. Furthermore, they haven't concealed their movements in the slightest. It's as if after taking over the Alabasta Kingdom and killing one of the 7 warlords of the sea, they aren't worried at all about retaliation from the world government or the Marines. To Sengoku, the signal sent by Luluan's group also carried a provocative meaning. It probably wasn't just simple indifference. There is definitely a deeper purpose. However, this provocation probably isn't aimed at the Marines. Luluan's group's target is likely the world government. Otherwise, there would be no reason for Luluan to go to the Alabasta Kingdom, such a barren yet somewhat unique place. Like the other 4 Emperor's pirate crews, the territories they occupy are mostly quite prosperous. However, the fact that Luluan's group's targets are the affiliated nation and the world government is definitely fantastic news for the Marines. It remains to be seen if the Gorosei can exert some effort and actually achieve something. If they really can resolve the Otherworld pirate crew in one fell swoop, then Sengoku would be quite willing to help. After all, the feeling that the Otherworld pirate crew gave Sengoku had always been very strange. Chapter 73, Growth. This is way too cool. It's alright, just average, really. I know someone called Reader who was much more handsome than me. They could kill the whole world just by their good looks alone. Ah. Is that for real? Inside a clothing store in the kingdom of Alabasta, Nami and Luluan were happily shopping. By now, the members of the Otherworld pirate crew had scattered to find things that interested them. Saitama and Bald Chang went to the capital to find some fun games. Pluton had left mysteriously on his own. It seemed like he went to find Vivi's subordinates to extract the devil fruit from their bodies, study them, and then put them back. As of now, even Luluan didn't know where Pluton had gone, but as long as he called out, Pluton would instantly appear by his side. Yasuo and Yon went to observe some of the martial arts of this world, especially swordsmanship. After all, there were many people in this world who used swords. Regardless of their strength, Yasuo and Yon were naturally very interested in the sword arts of this world. As for Hawkeye, he went to visit famous chefs in search of recipes. It was clear that Hawkeye was taking what he had said earlier very seriously. Before leaving, Hawkeye had even chosen to decline Yon's invitation. Do you want to accompany us 2 brothers to see the sword arts of this world? It seems you are also a master swordsman. Please don't joke, my lords. I must first become the world's greatest chef. Everyone had their own things to do. Luluan felt very happy. Most importantly, it was just him and Nami shopping together right now. There were no third wheels to disturb them. Luluan felt that in these short 3 or 4 days, his relationship with Nami had progressed very rapidly. At the very least, Luluan understood Nami much better now. Through their conversations over the past few days, Luluan also knew what Nami was thinking about. Strength. After staying with the Otherworld pirate crew for a long time, it was inevitable to have doubts about one's own strength. From the time she left Kokoyashi village until now, Nami's combat power had gone from being an ordinary person to someone who could now defeat pirates with bounties of over 10 million. But even so, Nami still felt her own weakness. Staying on this ship, Nami felt immense pressure. Over these past few days, besides going shopping to buy clothes and items for everyone, and handling logistics, Nami had also asked Luluan more than once how she could become stronger. And for this question, Luluan could only give one answer for now. Devil fruit. In this world, the only way for a person to become strong quickly is through a devil fruit. Hockey, martial arts, and swordsmanship all require long-term training. And they all require a certain amount of talent. Only a powerful devil fruit can allow a person to become strong rapidly. Captain. Just as Luluan and Nami were discussing this matter, suddenly a black figure appeared abruptly by Luluan's side. The person who arrived was none other than Pluton. Pluton, why did you suddenly come here? Luluan was still not quite used to Pluton's sudden appearances. Captain, I might need to leave the kingdom of Alabasta for a few days. I feel that the devil fruit system of this world is very interesting, and I want to go find more and learn about the system of this world. Oh? Has the research you mentioned earlier made any progress? Hearing Pluton's words, Luluan didn't find it strange. Because a few days ago, when they went to find the people from Baroque Works, Pluton had said that he seemed to have a very deep understanding of the devil fruits of this world. And he wanted to conduct some experiments. Since the big boss was interested, he could naturally do whatever he wanted, and Luluan expressed his full support. Now, after hearing Pluton's words, Luluan nodded straightforwardly. Of course, go wherever you want. Captain, just call me when you need me. My range of perception should be able to cover the entire world. After saying this, Pluton's figure instantly vanished from where he stood. As for Pluton's ability to come and go without a trace, Luluan and Nami had gotten used to it. Luluan was even looking forward to what kind of results Pluton would be able to research. Because earlier, Pluton had actually told him he had an idea. If the experiment was successful, he could create a very powerful devil fruit. It would not only be able to break through the limits of energy quantity, but it would also be able to eliminate the side effects that come with devil fruits. As a world of the Pirate King. In fact, it's not just the land. The depths of the ocean also deeply attracted Pluton. Perhaps for other people in this world, wanting to enter the depths of the ocean to explore had many difficulties. However, for a powerhouse of Pluton's level, naturally, he could go wherever he wanted. Captain, Lord Pluton said before that he could create a very powerful thing, and he even said he wanted me to be the first to try it. That's right. If he succeeds, you won't have your current worries anymore. Luluan dotingly patted Nami's head. During this time, this enthusiastic and cheerful girl had indeed won Luluan's favor. Looks, figure, personality were all types that Luluan liked. Most importantly, Nami didn't hide her affection for him at all, and was very proactive when facing him. And Luluan naturally saw no need to refuse. After all, Luluan was also a normal, hot-blooded man. He didn't know if it was because of the Sea King trait. As Luluan's strength continued to increase, the vitality within his body became more and more vigorous. Every time he faced Nami's proactive overtures, Luluan felt that he could barely hold himself back. Wait. They were both willing. They both liked each other. A handsome man and a beautiful woman. Where was the obstacle? And why should he even hold himself back? Luluan couldn't understand this question. So, after finishing shopping, Luluan chose to stop thinking about this issue. That night. Captain, I really like you. I like you too. I want to be your woman. 10,000 words omitted here. Chapter 74, CP9, Rob Lucci's confusion. The Alabasta Kingdom refused to become Soansos, but became the first subordinate force of the Otherworld pirate crew. Waking up on the third morning, Luluan looked at the day's newspaper. This Morgans, as always, knows how to stir up trouble. And this guy's guts were even bigger than he had imagined. He actually dared to mock the celestial dragons. Although he used so-and-so as a reference, he believed anyone would know what he was talking about. It seems Vivi is even more capable than I thought. Only about 10 days had passed since Crocodile was dealt with. But in this short amount of time, the kingdom's civil unrest had been completely resolved. Everything Crocodile had done and the truth behind the civil unrest had been fully publicized, and the Alabasta Kingdom's management had been reshuffled. Furthermore, the Alabasta Kingdom had also issued a formal statement, announcing that the kingdom had become a subordinate force of the Otherworld pirate crew. This statement was issued yesterday afternoon. This morning, the news crew spread the news to the whole world. Looking at the news headline alone, there didn't seem to be much to it. But Luluan could feel that this old bird had no good intentions. Publishing such a piece of news was clearly intended to stir up conflict, and then let both sides clash, creating a big news story that could shock the entire world. Lord, what are you talking about? Nami, beside him, rubbed her sleepy eyes, opened her arms, and leaned toward Luluan. Seeing Nami's lazy kitten-like appearance, Luluan also gave her a doting kiss. He got dressed simply. After going out, Luluan saw Vivi, who had already been waiting nearby. Upon seeing him, Vivi's face was full of joy, and she immediately jogged over to him. Lord Luluan, good morning. You too. You must be exhausted these past few days? Lord Luluan, I can't thank you enough. Actually, I've wanted to do these things for a long time, but I never had the chance. Now that everything in the kingdom has been settled and the people have officially entered the reconstruction phase, my father especially wants to meet you to express his gratitude in person. Vivi's father. Nefeltari D. Cobra. He is the 12th king of the Alabasta Kingdom and the father of Nefeltari D. Vivi. During his reign, he upheld the philosophy of the country as the people and was deeply loved by the citizens. Luluan was also very willing to meet this person. After all, previously, the true ruler of the Alabasta Kingdom was still him. Of course we can meet. After saying this, Luluan instinctively intended to follow Vivi into the palace to meet the king. But what Luluan didn't expect was that after he finished speaking, Vivi actually ran off. In a short while, Luluan saw a kind-faced, very benevolent middle-aged old man appear before him. A loose purple robe and a large yellow belt, the colors were so vivid. And the reason for calling the person in front of him a middle-aged old man was because this person, despite not being very old for this world, had a head of grayish-white hair. It was evident. The kingdom's civil unrest must have consumed a lot of his energy, which is why he looked the way he did now. Lord Luluan, I am Cobra, the king of Alabasta. I am truly grateful to you for killing that crocodile and saving our entire kingdom. As Cobra spoke, his tone was full of sincerity, and he made a move to kneel before Luluan. Startled, Luluan rushed over and stopped the king. Uncle Cobra, there's no need to kneel. Alabasta should not have suffered such a disaster. You are a good king. From now on, such things will never happen to Alabasta again, because this is the territory of my Otherworld traveling group. Hearing Luluan's confident words, Cobra's eyes sparkled with a brilliant light. If anyone else had said such words, Cobra might not have felt excited or moved, but these words came from Luluan's mouth. The Luluan before him was mysterious and powerful, and his smile was so warm. This kind powerhouse would surely be able to protect Alabasta forever and let the kingdom go further. Lord Luluan, I heard you want our Alabasta Kingdom's poneglyph? Yes. As far as I know, the only one in this world who can decipher a poneglyph is the devil child, Robin. Father. Robin was previously the vice president of our Baroque works, and now she is also under Lord Luluan's command. I know the location of the poneglyph. If Lord Luluan needs it, he can have Robin come directly to me. Cobra had come this time, not only to express his gratitude to Lord Luluan in person and meet the captain of the Otherworld pirate crew, but also for another primary reason. Which was to take Robin to see the poneglyph stone tablet buried in the Alabasta Kingdom. That stone tablet is currently in the burial hall of the royal tomb to the west of the palace. Cobra acted as a guide. After Robin was notified and arrived, he led the two of them toward the burial hall. At the same time, not far across from where Luluan was staying, a man wearing a pure white suit, with a long, strange beard and a pigeon perched on his shoulder, was casually watching this way. After seeing Luluan and the others leave, he stealthily followed them. This person was Rob Lucci, who was born on the Grand Line, received government training from a young age, and joined CP9 at the age of 13. Known as the strongest cold-blooded killing weapon in the history of CP9, he was considered by many to be the strongest in CP9 in 800 years. During missions, he is also the leader responsible for leading his comrades. This time, a total of 8 people came with him to the Alabasta Kingdom. When they first arrived in the Alabasta Kingdom, the group was in disguise and acted very cautiously. But gradually, Lucci discovered something strange. That was, they didn't seem to need to be cautious. The people of the Otherworld pirate crew had no sense of vigilance at all and made no attempt to hide. Until yesterday, Lucci had one of his subordinates drop his disguise and appear before those 2 baldies wearing a pure white suit, wandering around for a bit. No one cared. The 2 baldies acted as if they couldn't even see his subordinate, busy doing who knows what. Thus, Lucci simply abandoned the idea of disguising himself altogether. He appeared openly in a group before the members of the Otherworld pirate crew. Unfortunately, still, no one cared. Chapter 75, The Not-So-Powerful Newcomers. You mean the Otherworld pirate crew has other members? Yes. Are you sure they are members of the Otherworld pirate crew? Of course, Fleet Admiral Sengoku. The Otherworld pirate crew now has 3 additional executives, 1 bald man like Saitama and 2 swordsmen. One of them uses a dual-blade style. Judging by Hawkeye's current attitude toward them, these 2 might even hold a higher status than Hawkeye. Listening to Rob Lucci's words over the phone, Sengoku, in his office, felt it was somewhat unbelievable. This Otherworld pirate crew had actually gained several completely unfamiliar faces. And according to Rob Lucci's description, these unfamiliar faces weren't just ordinary crew members who joined the pirate crew, but executive-level individuals. Just how strong the executives of the Otherworld pirate crew were, Sengoku knew better than anyone. The previous 2 were already very difficult to deal with. Now, 3 more had inexplicably appeared. If these 3 were as strong as those 2, impossible. Such a thing could absolutely not happen. Throughout the long river of history, only so many powerhouses have appeared on the sea. It's impossible for so many top-tier powerhouses to all appear in the same pirate crew. Although in Rob Lucci's description, those 3 acted very close to the other executives and didn't have a superior-subordinate relationship, that didn't mean these 3 truly possessed the same combat power as Saitama and Pluton. Alright, I understand. Also, have you still not found any trace of Pluton? That's correct. So far, we haven't seen Pluton. Then keep searching. As for the 3 new executives, gather as much intelligence on them as possible. The most important thing is still to make contact with Pluton. After hanging up, Sengoku sat in his office, pondering Rob Lucci's words. Pluton's whereabouts were unknown. Had Luluan sent Pluton away? The Otherworld pirate crew had now taken the Alabasta Kingdom under its wing. Did Pluton's disappearance at this time have something to do with that? The intelligence revealed by Rob Lucci left Fleet Admiral Sengoku deep in thought. At the same time, the Gorosei, having received the intelligence, were also reflecting. Although there were no members of the D-Clan among the Otherworld pirate crew, the Otherworld pirate crew's recent series of actions had indeed made the Gorosei somewhat unhappy. Now, they only hoped that Rob Lucci could bring some good news. At the very least, this plan must not fail. They had to test the attitude of the Otherworld pirate crew's executives and make more contact with their members to understand their way of doing things. There was currently far too little intelligence regarding the Otherworld pirate crew. The marine side was disappointing and couldn't provide any useful information. The Gorosei could only place their bets on Rob Lucci. They hoped the CP9 mission to the Alabasta Kingdom would yield something useful. Meanwhile, in the Alabasta Kingdom, it had been about a full week since Rob Lucci arrived. During these few days, the members of CP9 had been tailing the executives of the Otherworld pirate crew. The final conclusion was that these people weren't worth tailing. Every day was nothing but play. They spent their time just idling about. There was no cultivation or training whatsoever. Furthermore, these people barely showed any abilities, they just hung around the royal capital like ordinary people. The two exceptionally tall and handsome executives suspected of being swordsmen were the only ones among them who practiced. However, these two didn't seek guidance from famous swordsmen, but from some local, ordinary kendo dojo owners. They didn't seem particularly powerful either, only possessing very refined basic swordsmanship of this world. When the two sparred in those dojos, they didn't look very strong. Upon first discovering this, Rob Lucci immediately synchronized this news with the Marine and the Gorosei. The three newly joined executives might not be executives at all. It was very likely they were just family members of the executives. Especially those two bald men. There was clearly some genetic link. Top-tier powerhouses in this world probably wouldn't be as numerous as imagined, especially in a situation where they appeared in a cluster. It was simply impossible. After receiving this latest news from Rob Lucci, Sengoku finally felt relieved. And for the Marine, there was another very, very good piece of news. Fleet Admiral Sengoku, you mean you found Pluton's whereabouts? That's right. According to the information gathered by my subordinates, Pluton is currently in the Alabasta Kingdom. Although I don't know where he went for the past few days, Pluton has now returned. You can find an opportunity to make contact now. Thank you, Fleet Admiral Sengoku. After hearing Sengoku's information, Rob Lucci didn't dare waste any time. Since arriving in the Alabasta Kingdom, this plan had never been implemented. Now that the main subject, Pluton, had returned, the matter could no longer be delayed. Thus, Rob Lucci immediately gathered the members of CP9. Based on the information from the Marine, they began searching for Pluton's whereabouts. And this time, the search did not end in disappointment as before. Instead, Pluton's location was quickly determined. What? You're saying Pluton is now at the seaside, on that marine warship they stole? Great! This is truly a godsend. Rob Lucci had originally been worried. If he only appeared in the city, especially by Laluan's side, it wouldn't be easy for them to make contact. He hadn't expected Pluton to actually be on that warship. In all the days since arriving in the Alabasta Kingdom, not a single member of Laluan's group had returned to that warship. Everyone was staying in the royal palace. Pluton's appearance at the warship meant he was bound to be alone. This was an ideal place and the perfect time to meet Pluton alone. Delays bring problems. Fearing that Pluton might disappear again, Rob Lucci didn't dare delay and immediately rushed toward the warship. Upon arriving, he left the others to wait and boarded the warship alone. Reaching the deck, Rob Lucci found Pluton standing there quietly. It looked as if he knew Lucci was coming. As if he were waiting for him. Lord Pluton, I am Rob Lucci, the leader of the world government's CP9. I have been ordered to discuss a business deal with you. Chapter 76, A Smooth Negotiation O? Upon hearing Rob Lucci's words, Pluton gave a flat O, then slowly turned around. This was Rob Lucci's first time seeing Pluton. But just by taking one look, Rob Lucci understood why the organization had sent him to make contact with Pluton and attempt to turn him. Because the aura of leadership on this man was simply too intense. That rich, kingly haki Rob Lucci felt that only Whitebeard, or perhaps even just the Gorosei, could compare to it. This aura was not just conqueror's haki, it was the presence of an absolute ruler, a master of control. Would a man like this choose to live under someone else? Absolutely not. It seems this mission will be much smoother than I imagined. After seeing Pluton, this thought couldn't help but cross Rob Lucci's mind. Your Excellency Pluton, it's like this, we, the world government, would like to reach an agreement with you personally, rather than with the other world pirate crew you are currently with. Rob Lucci's opening statement did not choose to directly offend the other world pirate crew, nor did it attempt to sow discord directly. Instead, he spoke from the position of a collaborator. However, there were subtle details in his words. It was a clever way to remind Pluton that he was not strictly bound to the other world pirate crew. He emphasized his individual independence. He could do what he wanted to do, the world government valued him greatly and was willing to be friends with him. Tell me more. Pluton's eyes remained as calm as an ancient well. Rob Lucci tried to read the expression on Pluton's face, but he couldn't see anything at all. Because from beginning to end, Pluton didn't even give him an extra expression or a glance. Even though he was standing right in front of him, chatting with him, Rob Lucci felt as if this conversation didn't even exist. Even when facing the Gorosei, Rob Lucci had never had such a feeling. However, although the feeling was very strange, Rob Lucci still remembered his mission. Your Excellency Pluton, we, the world government, would like to invite you to coordinate with us. Compared to Captain Leiluan, we in the world government view you more favorably and want to engage in a long-term collaboration with you, primarily regarding the issue of the Alabasta Kingdom. Since the Alabasta Kingdom has now become the territory of the Otherworld pirate crew, we, the world government, are willing to give up this place and entrust it to you to manage, rather than to anyone else from the Otherworld pirate crew. In the future, we would like to coordinate directly with you on related matters. Rob Lucci followed his plan, reciting the words he had long prepared. The Alabasta Kingdom. Unless the world government and the Marines sent massive troops to directly confront the Otherworld pirate crew, this territory could basically be considered to be in the pocket of the Otherworld pirate crew. The Alabasta Kingdom had never really gotten along with the world government. And after these few days of fermentation, the citizens of the Alabasta Kingdom had already accepted the fact that they had become vassals of the Otherworld pirate crew. In fact, the vast majority of the citizens were very supportive. Whether for the Marines or the world government, this territory was completely lost. Because the hearts of the kingdom's people already belonged to the Otherworld pirate crew. Negotiating with Pluton in this way, regardless of the outcome, Rob Lucci felt he could at least guarantee his own safe retreat. After all, his words were not directed against the Otherworld pirate crew, he even represented the world government in making official promises and concessions. It was merely specifying that Pluton must be the one to coordinate. This not only demonstrated the world government's regard for Pluton as an individual but also let Pluton know that he himself was no weaker than that Captain Leiluan. Oh, specifying that I should coordinate? You world government folks are quite generous, willing to give us the Alabasta Kingdom directly, and even willing to publicly acknowledge it. After hearing Rob Lucci's eloquent plan, the corners of Pluton's mouth curled up slightly. He revealed a faint, inscrutable smile. He spoke to Rob Lucci, "It seems you world government folks are quite sincere." Watching Pluton not offer any rebuttal or suspicion regarding his words, Rob Lucci was extremely happy at this moment. Up to this point, all the plans were proceeding very steadily in the direction he had in his mind. And Pluton clearly had a very strong interest in his proposal. This proved it. This man, Pluton. There was indeed a possibility of turning him. He didn't seem to have much special respect for that Captain Leiluan either. Your Excellency Pluton, when do you think you might have some free time? I can arrange for our superior to come and talk to you in detail privately. I have time right now. Aren't you going to discuss the public agreement for our Otherworld pirate crew to fully take over the Alabasta Kingdom? How about this, you set a time, and I will attend. I can also meet your world government leaders while I'm at it. Hearing Pluton's words, Rob Lucci also revealed a thoughtful smile. The look in his eyes when he gazed at Pluton also became a bit more enthusiastic. It seems Your Excellency Pluton already understands my meaning. I will go and ask for instructions now to confirm the time. I will send someone to inform you of the time and location then. I look forward to meeting you again. After speaking, Rob Lucci flashed away and disappeared from the deck. Arriving next to the CP9 members, Rob Lucci didn't say another word, but simply waved his hand, and the group followed Rob Lucci as they left immediately. This time, there was no hesitation. The group directly steered the small boat they had arrived in and completely left the region of the Alabasta Kingdom. Seeing Rob Lucci's state, everyone knew that this matter had most likely succeeded. After all, for their boss to be able to show such a smile, this expression was enough to show just how smooth this negotiation had been. Being able to complete such a high-difficulty mission for the Gorosei, everyone recalled the potential rewards, and they also revealed equally happy smiles. After completely leaving the range of the Alabasta Kingdom, Rob Lucci pulled out the golden Den Den Mushi from his bosom. With almost no hesitation, after taking it out, he skillfully dialed. Chapter 77, The Gorosei are about to descend. The Gorosei. The supreme leaders of the world government, all of whom are celestial dragons, directly under the jurisdiction of Ima-sama. Warrior god of finance, Saint Nashiro. Holding the first-generation Kitetsu, wearing a white robe, bald, wearing glasses, he is the only one among the Gorosei who does not wear a suit and has a beard. Warrior god of agriculture, Saint Peter. Wearing a deep red suit, no tie, blonde hair, beard is also blonde, with a scar on his chest. Warrior god of justice, Vasily Saint. Wearing a dark green suit, bald, with a handlebar mustache, and a birthmark on his forehead. Warrior god of environment, Saint Marcus Mars. Wearing a dark blue suit. With long, straight white hair and a long beard. Warrior god of science and defense, Saint Figurland Garling. Supreme commander of God's knights, he is the king who was once active in the Valley of the Gods, and replaced the position of Satan Saint after the Egghead incident. These 5 people are all users of mythical Zoan Devil Fruit abilities. And their level of Devil Fruit development is extremely high. Each of their combat power is basically higher than that of a Marine Admiral. This time, let me go and meet this Pluton. The one who spoke was the warrior god of finance, Saint Nashiro. This man holding the first-generation Kitetsu is also an extremely powerful great swordsman. And he is one of the 5 Gorosei whose combat power ranks in the top 3. Saint Nashiro, do you mean you want to meet this Pluton in person? In that case, you arrange the time and location. Once you have confirmed, I will inform the other party. Time, location, these don't matter. Let's set it in the Alabasta Kingdom. You find a place in the capital, and as for the time, let's set it 5 days from now. After Saint Nashiro finished speaking, he seemed to remember something else. By the way, this time I will go directly as a representative of the official world government. You can find a way to make the scene grand. You can also let that Morgans come over to take some news photos. Since we have decided to make contact, let's have a proper engagement this time. When Saint Nashiro was speaking, his tone was full of seriousness. Going to meet Pluton, he did not want to sneak over secretly. In Saint Nashiro's view, only by truly representing the world government and going there with great fanfare, and then telling this group of people from the other world pirate crew in person that the world government only wants to connect with Pluton, can the plan be completed more quickly. And after doing so, it can greatly strike at Luluan's dignity as the captain. If he were to sneak over to contact Pluton this time, it would instead be a lower-class move. Now that the Alabasta Kingdom has become the territory of the otherworld pirate crew, and the citizens' hearts have been won over, at this time, going to war forcefully might pose huge risks for the world government and the Marines. After all, this otherworld pirate crew is indeed very mysterious. According to Garp and Kizaru, those 2 cadres both possess extremely strong power. Although they are not of the D-clan, they will definitely be an existence that gives them a headache. Rather than taking the risk of attacking and potentially suffering huge losses, it is better to do it this way. This plan can also truly allow the world government to understand the true strength and personnel composition of the otherworld pirate crew. The current otherworld pirate crew is clearly no longer something the Marines can handle. And because this trip is to discuss the world government voluntarily yielding the ownership of the Alabasta Kingdom, therefore, in Saint Nashiro's view, this action not only has no risks, but can even represent the world government and gain some favorability in front of the otherworld pirate crew. In short, it is all benefit and no harm. After receiving Saint Nashiro's order, Rob Lucci hung up his call. It seems that the world government really attaches great importance to this otherworld pirate crew. Rob Lucci muttered. And the few people beside him asked the question they had been curious about for a long time. Is that Pluton really that strong? CP9 were very curious about everyone in the otherworld pirate crew. Because after arriving at the Alabasta Kingdom, even after tracking them for such a long time, they didn't feel these people were that impressive. Whether it was these people's hobbies or their usual behavior, it all made these people from CP9 feel that their bounties were somewhat inflated. Just like those 2 bald guys. Every day, they watched those street performers and play some particularly childish games. Such behavior is completely unlike what a strong person would do. It looks more like two people who are not yet mentally mature. Pluton is really very different. The aura on his body is even deeper than the 5 adults. Rob Lucci recalled what it was like when he saw Pluton. He himself was truly frightened. Moreover, Pluton gave him a very strange feeling. Although the chat went smoothly and the contact plan seemed perfect, but now, looking back, Rob Lucci always felt that something was a bit strange somewhere. Really? But the two we've been tracking always feel quite different from the intelligence. Alright, regardless, let's hurry up and execute the adult's plan. The adult is about to descend to the Alabasta Kingdom in person. Before that, we must let the Otherworld pirate crew and the whole world know about this news. Rob Lucci looked at everyone and seriously gave instructions on what should be prepared next. Then he called a news coup and stuffed a note into the news coup's small satchel. Presumably, after this news completely spreads, the Otherworld pirate crew will surely let the Alabasta Kingdom hold an extremely grand welcoming ceremony. Watching the news coup fly away in the wind, Rob Lucci was already imagining. When Saint Nashiro descends upon this country, what kind of grand scene will appear? This is the first time in many years that one of the Gorosei has personally descended to a place outside the Holy Land. This is truly a big news story. I didn't expect the world government to actually do such a thing. I wonder how the Otherworld pirate crew will respond. Looking at the note in the bag, Morgans was lost in thought. One of the Gorosei, personally descending. This is something that even the 4 Emperors' pirate crews have never achieved. The world government's importance attached to the Otherworld pirate crew now seems to have surpassed the 4 Emperors' pirate crews. Originally, after the Alabasta Kingdom announced its submission, Morgans was thinking of officially announcing the Otherworld pirate crew as the 5th Emperor. But now it seems that it was absolutely correct that he hadn't published this news yet. Because the Otherworld pirate crew perhaps really cannot be easily given the title of 5th Emperor. It is not because the Otherworld pirate crew is not qualified, but because the title of 5th Emperor is not qualified enough. Chapter 78, the people haven't even enjoyed it yet. For this news, just follow Rob Lucci's request, we must create a massive splash. The front page headlines for the next few days must be about the Gorosei descending upon the Alabasta Kingdom for their first contact with the Otherworld pirate crew. Morgans was in his office. He issued orders to his subordinates. Get to it immediately. We must let the whole world know this news before Saint Nashiro reaches the Alabasta Kingdom. With a single command from Morgans, countless newspapers were printed. The headline of the paper was the one Morgans had mentioned, which was also the content on the note Rob Lucci had given him. This news headline, being shocking enough, immediately sparked worldwide discussion once it was released, including among the 4 Emperors' pirate crews. Even the Gorosei have been alarmed. It seems this Otherworld pirate crew is truly no small feat. Red Hair looked at the newspaper in his hand. His expression was full of solemnity. Red Hair knew clearly how incredibly significant it was for one of the Gorosei to personally make contact. Furthermore, Red Hair knew that the Gorosei's inner thoughts could never be so simple. A simple contact? Non-existent. The world government must have deeper schemes, it's just that no one knows them yet. This Otherworld pirate crew is certainly bold enough, daring to take even an affiliated nation under their wing. One must know that even among the current 4 emperors, no one dares to do such a thing so brazenly. Although, nominally, they were handing over the ownership of the Alabasta Kingdom, the Otherworld pirate crew had already completely taken over the entire kingdom and didn't need any authorization or anything from the world government. Going there this time, who knows what will happen. However, Red Hair knew that he couldn't wade into these muddy waters. Neither of the two parties this time would give him any face. Humph. This Luluan is truly arrogant enough. Onigashima. Kaido, clutching his giant spiked mace, snorted in disdain after seeing the content of the newspaper. Regarding this Otherworld pirate crew, Kaido had always felt that the world government was overstating things. He also felt that this Otherworld pirate crew was simply too arrogant. Brazenly taking an affiliated nation under their wing, this sort of behavior was even a bit like a slap in his own face. However, with one of the Gorosei setting out personally, this Luluan probably doesn't know that his death is near. Kaido grinned savagely and crushed the newspaper in his hand. In his mind, he had already guessed the script of what would happen next. Kaido believed that in the near future, what he would see in the news should be the report of the total annihilation of the Otherworld pirate crew. Gororarara! This kid Luluan, I really want to meet him. Looking at the content of the newspaper, Whitebeard laughed heartily. For some reason, from this Otherworld pirate crew, Whitebeard felt like he could see some shadows of the former Rocks pirates. Pops, do you really think so highly of this Luluan? There's so little information about him, we don't even know what kind of person he is. Marco looked at Whitebeard beside him and spoke with concern. Marco, this young man named Luluan is definitely not simple. If you don't believe me, we can make a bet. I feel this kid Luluan might just be a figure who can change the entire world in the future. Looking at Marco, Whitebeard spoke in a firm tone. Is Mama still eating cake? Yes, Mr. Katakuri. Then don't disturb her for now. In any case, our big mom pirates certainly won't wade into these muddy waters this time. Let's first see how things develop in the Alabasta Kingdom. When Katakuri said this, his tone was very calm. After all, no matter what happened with this Otherworld pirate crew, it had nothing to do with their big mom pirates. Katakuri had actually been paying attention to this Otherworld pirate crew since they were first given a bounty by the Marine. In Katakuri's view, they must not have any involvement with this Otherworld pirate crew. Neither conflict nor alliance was acceptable. Because this pirate crew simply had too many uncertain elements. His observation haki seemed to give him a warning the moment he heard the name. Now that the Gorosei were descending, in Katakuri's view, it was also a perfect opportunity. He could see exactly what extraordinary qualities this Otherworld pirate crew possessed. Ha! The Gorosei are coming? How come I didn't know about this? While the entire world was in shock because of this newspaper, Luluan, who was sitting on a lounge chair enjoying a massage from Nami and Vivi, had a look of utter bewilderment. Life had been very leisurely these past few days. In Luluan's view, no major events had happened. There was no movement from the Marine side either. This situation felt a bit unexpected to Luluan. After all, he had occupied a kingdom. The Marine hadn't even sent an admiral over to send them to their deaths, or to arrest me. How strange. And today's newspaper gave Luluan a surprising answer to this question. The reason no one came from the Marine was that one of the Gorosei was coming personally. Furthermore, the newspaper said the two sides were holding talks. Talk about what? What's there to talk about with an old man? And the newspaper even said the whole world was watching this extremely grand meeting. What do you mean grand? The Alabasta Kingdom is still busy with reconstruction. Right when the nation is being rebuilt, this evil old man wants to come and waste manpower and resources on some vanity projects. Luluan would absolutely not allow this to happen. As a successor of New Eratism, these vanity projects were the most intolerable. That old man can come if he wants. But as for any sort of reception, it's completely out of the question. When Luluan informed King Cobra, who had also just learned the news of this decision, Cobra was stunned. The person coming was one of the highest authorities of the world government. A bona fide celestial dragon among celestial dragons. And with so many days of hype beforehand, the whole world was watching. To not have even a bit of a welcoming ceremony, was that even proper? And facing Cobra's bewildered face, Luluan calmly said one sentence. The people haven't even enjoyed it yet. This one sentence was deafening. Cobra felt as if he had spent the first half of his life in vain. The world all says that I am a good king. Yet, I have never truly put the people first. What a sin! Chapter 79, Welcome my ass. I understand. Thank you for your guidance, Lord Luluan. From now on, I will definitely put the people first. In Cobra's eyes as he looked at Luluan, besides the awe for a mysterious powerhouse, there was now a hint of admiration. Only someone who always keeps the people in their heart is perhaps worthy of standing at a truly high position. Perhaps the reason everyone in Alabasta supports the Otherworld pirate crew is precisely because they see this quality in Lord Lalawan. Other pirate crews, after gaining territory, the first thing they do is definitely not vigorously developing and building like the Otherworld pirate crew. To make a destroyed kingdom recover, they would only continue to squeeze value out of the kingdom. Even the Four Emperors' pirate crews are the same. Even many marines, when helping villages and towns plundered by pirates, would charge a certain fee before being willing to help with reconstruction. Cobra knew clearly about the darkest side of this world. But Lord Lalawan was completely different. Since Crocodile was killed, the Otherworld pirate crew had never asked Alabasta for a single berry. And now, they were even helping the citizens with urban construction. Lord Lalawan is truly great. I must not fail Lord Lalawan's intentions, I must strictly follow his teachings and do more good deeds for the country and the people. Watching Cobra's determined figure as he walked away, Lalawan nodded in satisfaction. Days passed one by one. The appearance of Alabasta was changing with each passing day, essentially looking different every single day. Everyone was in the thick of reconstructing the entire Alabasta kingdom. Especially the former members of Baroque Works. Thanks to the boost from Devil Fruit abilities, the kingdom's reconstruction was progressing very quickly. And with the Otherworld pirate crew as a gold standard endorsement, many places were willing to engage in trade with Alabasta. This accelerated the growth of Alabasta. Especially during this time, after the Gorosei officially announced they would come to Alabasta to completely transfer ownership to the Otherworld pirate crew. The whole world was in an uproar. In the eyes of Alabasta's citizens, the Gorosei's visit seemed more like a show of weakness toward Lord Lalawan. During this period, in the hearts of the kingdom's citizens, the influence of the Otherworld pirate crew had definitely surpassed that of the world government, and even that of King Cobra. The previous Crocodile had become a hero in the eyes of the citizens through schemes and plots. But the current Lalawan was a great hero in the truest sense. As his portrait spread, Lalawan found it inconvenient to even walk down the street on ordinary days. Because the citizens were simply too enthusiastic. Now, he basically could only stay within the royal palace. While walking around, Lalawan was thinking that once Vivi's reconstruction work was finished, he would leave and head for the New World. As for the Gorosei coming, Lalawan didn't particularly care. After all, with Pluton's power, it could basically appear wherever it wanted in an instant. If the Gorosei dared to commit evil in Alabasta, then Pluton would appear before them immediately and let them know what black hole level means. As Lalawan walked, he soon arrived in front of a beautiful palace. Before Lalawan could even get close, Vivi's voice drifted out from inside. "Don't worry about all that. Just do as I say." The current Vivi was in the midst of directing the kingdom's reconstruction, a truly busy person. Although she had help from the people of Baroque Works, they weren't particularly professional when it came to urban planning. Such matters could only be left to Vivi to handle personally. When he met Vivi 2 days ago and saw her covered in sweat, Lalawan had reached out to pat her head to comfort the busy girl. At that time, Vivi's face turned red, and she immediately ran away. Thinking of this girl and hearing her lose her temper like this, Lalawan curiously walked in, intending to see what exactly was happening. But he didn't expect to hear a conversation between Vivi and Mr. 9 as soon as he entered. "Vivi, wouldn't it seem a bit too abrupt to put a statue of Lord Lalawan here?" "How is it abrupt? Do you dislike Lord Lalawan's statue?" Hearing Vivi's words and feeling her malicious gaze, Mr. 9 waved his hands repeatedly. "I certainly don't mean that. Lord Lalawan is the person I respect most in my life. It's just that while placing his statue in the city center or in front of the palace is fine, carving a life-sized one in your private chambers, isn't that a bit inappropriate?" "None of your business. If I think it's appropriate, then it is." Seeing Vivi's persistence, Mr. 9 didn't say anything more. He could only do as Vivi ordered. After all, everyone present knew how infatuated Vivi was with Lord Lalawan now. Now, the entire kingdom was undergoing a massive reconstruction. Especially the busy work of erecting statues of Lord Lalawan throughout the kingdom. To the outside world, it seemed to be a subject of speculation and discussion. The kingdom is preparing to welcome the Gorosei. But the people within the kingdom knew clearly. What Gorosei? The otherworld pirate crew didn't care at all. Alabasta didn't care either. So far, they hadn't received any corresponding orders or notices from the king. The reason they were putting so much effort into renovating the entire kingdom was simply to improve their own standard of living. As for building so many statues of Luluan, that was entirely Vivi's idea. As for what Vivi's true purpose was, Mr. Nine couldn't say much. Lulu. Lord Leiluan. You're here. Mr. Nine had just turned around and opened the palace door. He saw Luluan standing behind the door with a stiff smile. And after the door opened, things immediately became somewhat awkward. Behind Mr. Nine, Vivi, hearing the commotion, immediately turned around and fixed her gaze on Luluan. Her small face instantly turned beet red. Lord Leiluan. It's nothing. Carry on with your work, carry on. I was just passing by and happened to drop in to take a look. Don't mind me, please continue. At this moment, Luluan was indeed a bit shy. After having a taste of the forbidden fruit, Luluan could roughly guess what Vivi's intention was behind making a life-sized statue of him. This girl. If she had such thoughts, she could just tell him directly. It's not like he didn't feel the same way. Lord Leiluan. Don't leave yet. Just then, Vivi's voice came from behind, and she soon trotted up to him. After stopping, Vivi's face was still flushed, but as she looked at him, there was a touch more seriousness in her eyes. Lord Leiluan, the kingdom is undergoing a full renovation. Regarding the Gorosei, do we really not need to prepare a welcome ceremony? Are we really not going to arrange anyone to greet them? Welcome my ass. Chapter 80, Where is everyone? He's just a smelly old man, ignore him. The Gorosei. Vivi actually had some understanding of how high their status was and how powerful they were in this world. As the princess of an affiliated nation, she naturally knew how terrifying these individuals were. Although these five were also celestial dragons, they were completely different from those useless wastes who wore fish tanks on their heads. These people all possessed extremely formidable strength. Especially Lord Saint Nashiro, who was officially announced to be coming this time. As the owner of the first-generation Katetsu, his combat power could rank in the top 3 among the Gorosei. He was a truly powerful celestial dragon in every sense of the word. But for some reason, seeing how Luluan didn't take this member of the Gorosei seriously at all, Vivi didn't have the slightest doubt. She even vaguely felt. The Gorosei, huh? It seemed like they really weren't that big of a deal. There was no need for a welcoming ceremony, and no need to prepare anything. He could come and go as he pleased. I understand, Lord Luluan. It's good that you understand. Also, there's no need for life-sized statues or anything like that. If you have anything to say, just tell me directly. I might leave in a few days after the Alabasta Kingdom is on the right track. Luluan looked into Vivi's eyes. He said this seriously. After speaking, he gave a bright, sunny smile, then turned and left. The days passed one by one. Soon, the agreed-upon day arrived. Over the past few days, almost every newspaper carried by the newskuz was related to the Gorosei and the otherworld pirate crew. After all, the meeting between the two parties was now the focus of the entire world's attention. Handing over the ownership of the Alabasta Kingdom, such a large affiliated nation, was a major event. Is the world government showing weakness to the otherworld pirate crew? Exactly which member of the otherworld pirate crew possesses such deterrent power? Does the otherworld pirate crew really have a distinction between captain and cadres? Titles like these appeared incessantly in the news these days. Although any smart person could see these headlines were meant to incite internal strife, most of them did indeed carry an educational nature. The main point was that the otherworld pirate crew was indeed very mysterious. Even if this was an open scheme, it was unsolvable. After all, the seeds of doubt would eventually take root in the heart due to the power of words. Even just a tiny bit of suspicion, or a slight impression brought by a sentence or a news report, could potentially lead to consequences in the future. The reason why Morgans reported so many news stories with such headlines was clearly at the behest of the world government. And in everyone's word-of-mouth conversations, this was the most discussed topic during this period. After all, this was the first time the world government had made such a concession to a pirate crew. In the past, even for the Four Emperors pirate crews, the world government wouldn't give them any face. In fact, beings at the level of the Gorosei wouldn't even step in to manage it, they would ignore it completely. But now, they actually let one of the Gorosei personally go to negotiate with this otherworld pirate crew. From this, one could see the extraordinary nature of the otherworld pirate crew and the importance the world government placed on them. During this time, naturally, spies from various forces all gathered in the Alabasta Kingdom. The number of people in the entire kingdom had increased significantly compared to before. However, Cobra naturally welcomed this. The more people there were, the more beneficial it was for the reconstruction of the kingdom. And after arriving in the kingdom, all these spies were puzzled by one thing. That was, although the entire kingdom was being renovated in full swing, there were no signs indicating that a welcoming ceremony for the Gorosei was being prepared anywhere. On the contrary, statues of the otherworld pirate cruise captain were being built everywhere. It was as if the entire kingdom was busy with the wrong things right now. Clearly, at this time, they should be busy with the welcoming ceremony, yet these people were doing completely unrelated work. They hadn't even found out yet which port the Gorosei would land at or which road they would take to the palace. There were no routes, no welcoming personnel, no decorations, nothing at all. Even though the people of the entire country were working fervently, none of it made any sense. The messages sent back by the spies were all more or less the same. The entire kingdom seems to completely not care about the Gorosei's arrival. Such intelligence reports caused many forces to harshly criticize their own spies. The whole kingdom has been renovated, and you say they don't care about this? They definitely hadn't investigated clearly. They claimed Alabasta Kingdom was secretly preparing some surprise welcoming ceremony. Even in the Newscoos newspapers, some betting information appeared. Betting on what kind of surprise ceremony Alabasta Kingdom would have waiting for the Gorosei. Rob Lucci was also very curious about this question at the moment. Having been undercover in the Alabasta Kingdom for so long, even he couldn't figure it out. What exactly was the situation in the kingdom now? The Lord was about to arrive, yet now, it seemed like absolutely nothing had been prepared. It was impossible for the people of the otherworld pirate crew not to see the extent of the news hype. It was also impossible for Cobra not to see it. After thinking it over, Rob Lucci reached a conclusion. It seems this otherworld pirate crew is preparing something quite mysterious. Gulu gulu, gulu gulu. The sound of a den den mushy rang out. After Rob Lucci picked up the den den mushy, a majestic voice came from the receiver. Everything must be ready over there, right? I'm about to arrive by warship. Which port should I go to? This. I'm not too sure either. What? What do you mean you're not too sure? Hearing the other party's voice, which was puzzled to the point of being strange, Rob Lucci could only tell Saint Nashiro all the information he had learned during this time. So they're going to give me a surprise. This otherworld pirate crew is indeed quite interesting. On the other end of the phone, Saint Nashiro's voice, somewhat happy yet deep, came through. Forget it, I'll just stop at the kingdom's largest port and see what kind of surprise this otherworld pirate crew has prepared for me. In less than an hour, a massive marine warship arrived in the waters of the Alabasta Kingdom, braving the wind and waves. It soon reached the port. Saint Nashiro walked out of the cabin. With the first-generation Kitetsu at his waist, his entire body was filled with majesty. The surrounding CP-0 units lined up on both sides, making a grand and imposing appearance. Ku, the people on the warship stood in formation for several minutes. Responding to them, from beginning to end, were only the cooing sounds of the news coos. That's it for today. Meet you in next part.